Saladcast.
Live. Hafnium.
Hello and welcome to the Saladcast.
Idiot.
Live. That was live. That's like the whole point of the element thing is to declare that we are live. Anyway, this is the Saladcast.
I'll cut that out.
It's Saturday the 27th of July. I'm your host Dan Train. Joining me today, live, is Rob again.
Drinking a Coke.
With a mouthful of Coke.
And Zachary Burgess.
It's not the hottest day of the year, but it's still pretty fucking hot.
Yeah. I don't think it's quite as hot as when we last did this.
No, that's why I said it was not the hottest day of the year.
No.
I haven't had that much trouble with the heat except for when you're trying to sleep. That's the
I
worst
hate
thing.
that.
It's not too bad in my house at night, really.
It's been all right the last few days. I admit there's been more of a breeze, meaning that like, when I just leave the windows upstairs open, it cools down eventually.
I have all tactics like, okay, I'm home, right. Open all the windows in the bedroom, but close the door and make sure all the lights are off so that no insects like fly in attracted to the light. And then when you come in to actually go to sleep, it's like, okay, quickly, turn the lights on, shut them, like make sure the insects don't come in for a second.
Bug nets.
I haven't got bug nets. I haven't got any of those.
It's much easier. Although apparently that doesn't work for my room because I have bug nets over my window.
And they still fly in?
Well, there was one night where a million tiny bugs came in, and I looked at them, I was like, where the fuck are they getting in? I checked the entire thing, it's like, I just couldn't work it out. But then also, the other problem is, for some reason, like Daddy Longlegs must come in somewhere else in the house, but always make their way onto the outside of my door. So when I go out at night, they just go in.
Right.
And I've caught like fucking 20 of the bastards.
It's a shame you can't sell them and make money like Animal Crossing.
They're all dead now, though. Unlike Animal Crossing, where you can just shove anything in your pocket so it stays alive, like fish.
I don't think the museum would be interested in like 20 live Daddy Longlegs that you captured.
Well, they only want one for their collection.
Yeah, that's true.
For some reason, the recycling centre will buy everything else for
That's
cash.
the recycling centre.
I don't know what they recycle all these bugs into. Something horrible,
I
probably.
think you want to know, yeah.
Bigger bugs. Just add them all together and somehow they make a super bug. It's like some kind of potion.
Right.
Magic! Anyway.
Maybe they're providing the food to make the rare bugs on the island or something. They have some kind of weird...
Yeah, but I'm taking the rare bugs from the island.
I know, but they have to come from somewhere, though, right?
They ship them back, that's what
Yeah.
they're
They go through...
they're like, oh, we must protect the ecology of this island. For some reason, all the bugs have been disappearing.
So what it is a really...
We'll pay you for these rare bugs so we can send them to the island
So it's a
and
really-
repair their ecology.
So what it is a really dishonest process. It's just like, hey guys, I found these rare bugs, not on the island. Do you want to take them to the island?
Oh yeah, we've been trying to get those rare bugs to breed for ages on the island. There's only a few of them left. They're threatened. Anytime we find any, we take them back to the island. How do you keep coming across them?
No reason.
Do you only go... And then, because you only go at night, right? When they're not patrolling.
I guess so. Potentially after they've closed, only not quite, because they close at like 2 a.m, which is convenient for me.
That is quite good for a small village.
Well, it's because I sent it to the night ordinance, so everything stays open later.
Night ordinance.
Obviously.
Oh, that's quite handy, that because presumably in previous versions you didn't have the mayoral powers to change the opening hours of the shops.
No.
That's quite handy.
We didn't have... The island wasn't quite so lucrative.
Well, the island didn't really exist before.
No.
Did it not?
Same
Okay.
way.
No.
And they were talking about it on the Bombcast, of course.
Of course.
Where they were talking about how you set up your island for maximum cash generation in minimum time. And I had actually sort of already done that. Because I just came across that plan by myself. I was like, well, obviously, if the high value bugs only spawn on palm trees, you only want palm trees. I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
So I was like, so I still had some flowers and stuff around, and I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I might as well do it properly. Burn everything.
Make everything pineapple.
Yep, only palm trees.
Palm trees, sorry.
And then I came up with the even more ridiculous plan of like, if I dig holes in every single square of the island that's just land, then even the land-type bugs can't spawn, because they can't spawn on top of the holes. But unfortunately, holes don't persist, so when you leave the island, they just fill back in. So that plan doesn't quite work. And then I was thinking of, like, is there some other way I can prevent them from spawning by, like, putting something on the ground that doesn't cause more bugs to spawn, but also blocks them from spawning?
Rocks?
That's what I was thinking about, but I don't think there is anything else that I can... Because you can't take stuff to the island. You can only use what's already there.
I see.
But so I don't think there's any way to any other thing. I was thinking I was trying to bury all the seashells that wash up on the beach in case bugs can't spawn on top of buried items, but I don't know whether that's true, so I'll find out eventually, I guess, once I've buried enough of them. And if they stay buried, I don't even know if that will persist.
It's so weird, like, gaming the system, isn't it, really?
It's so dumb that this whole system is so fucking broken in the first place, that you need this ridiculous amount of cash, and the only way to get it is by cheaply gaming the system or doing the turnip stock market or whatever the fuck.
The turnip stock
It might
market.
as well be a stock market. It's like buy low, sell high.
So how would you change the game?
Wait, what?
Would you leave it
Well, just
broken? It's kind of fun.
They just need to make more things give you that level of cash. It's like it's
Rather
because there's
than
only
being
this
one
one
thing.
thing that can
And that's
produce cash
boring.
that fast.
Right. You need multiple lucrative things.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just spend your whole time doing the one
So you
thing.
don't have to grind that one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a bit of a shame.
You want to make it so, well, what you really need is some sort of way where you grow the opportunity to earn that amount of cash, don't you? You want a gameplay and a mechanic that could turn around. A bit like the turnip stock market in a way, but you just need more of them so you can have more irons in the fire at the same time, so you're more likely to make that kind of money.
Maybe.
I think would sound more appealing to me. You know, the idea of, right, well, if I keep that up and I keep this up, one of them is going to pay me back.
Or if they just made if they made the markets dynamic, so like if you didn't do one thing for a long time, that its price would go up, so you could cycle between different things and
Keep the variety.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But they didn't. So fucking grind those bugs.
Or do you reckon they could, like, if they were to attempt making Animal Crossing into a bit more of an MMO, do you reckon they could just have like an Eve style economy
Well, it's because
system?
there's no like sinks in Animal Crossing, or at least no proper sinks, apart from the sell everything to this mysterious recycling place that will give you cash for them. It's not like an Eve where everything gets blown up eventually.
I guess. Not enough destructive stuff.
No.
I suppose that's the nature of
It's
the
a game
game.
about hoarding stuff, isn't it?
Pretty much.
How's your house looking?
I expanded my basement so I could cram even more shit in there, because the basement doesn't calculate your house score, so you can fill literally every square with junk. Just cram as much in there as you want.
That's kind of realistic.
Yep.
Can make your basement look really crappy.
If I need.
full of stuff.
My gyroid room is getting, like... I've got to the point where I'm mostly finding almost all duplicate fossils now, so I'm not really completing the fossil collection anymore. I haven't quite got to the point where I'm finding all duplicate gyroids, but there's still quite a few duplicates, normally. And I also discovered, like, the secret purpose of the gyroids, where I guess I maybe should have worked this out from the nightclub, where there's the gyroids in the back of the stage. But if you have a stereo or whatever in your house, and you get one of the music tracks that you can play on it, then they make their noises sort of in time with the tune, which is dumb.
What, certain gyroids, you mean?
Well, just all of them.
Oh, all of them. Oh, okay.
And then depending on what type of noise they make, it kind of fits differently into the different tempo of the tune.
Huh, that's kind of cool.
It's kind of cool, but also still totally pointless and dumb.
Yeah. But I guess a lot of that game is totally pointless.
Yep, kind of. So I'm still doing that.
So, Animal
What have you
Crossing.
playing?
What's Zach's
Yeah.
been playing?
No, it's not hardly at all been playing that. This is like, as I was saying before last time, I talked about it, it's just doing the daily stuff. Only takes like an hour to quickly go around and dig up all the fossils and gyroids, water all the plants, and then you're done. Get the fuck out.
You did what, and do an island run?
Well, maybe later at night if I feel like it.
I saw someone in the gaming press saying that Animal Crossing was definitely a contender for Game of the Year. I was like,
What the
really?
fuck is it?
No.
I was like, no.
Maybe handheld game of the year.
Yeah, maybe. That could be a category. Do we have a
Well, I
category?
don't know.
for
Did Fire Emblem or Luigi's
that? That's
Mansion
not this
might
year,
be.
is it? I guess it is.
Yeah, it is. In this country.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It was March, wasn't it?
fair enough.
Pretty much when I got that 3DS.
Yeah, that was why you got the DS, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because it was attacked with my fancy Fire Emblem 3DS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty sweet.
I finished that. Let's just continue talking about what I've been playing.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
I finished Fire Emblem at last.
Oh, wow.
It was really dumb, though. Because...
Well, how did all the, presumably all the time travel shit had to resolve somehow, did
Not
it? Or
really.
did they just go, nah, fuck it?
Well, the idea of the time travel shit is, they come from the bad future.
Spoiler alerts, I guess.
I guess. They come from the bad future, and they're there to prevent that from happening. So when you prevent it from happening, they're just like, well, I guess I'll continue to stay here then, because I don't really want to go back to the bad future. That would be dumb.
But could they go back to the... Paradox? Could they go back to the bad future? Because the bad future doesn't exist.
Yeah, but the whole thing...
But then should they not exist? Oh, no! Time travel.
Yeah, don't even start thinking about time paradoxes. How did they even travel through time? It's not even very specifically explained at all. It's like,
Bing.
the dragon sent them back. Good. Okay.
Good going, dragon.
But yeah, so you get to the last mission, and you unlock it, and it's very specifically the last mission, because it's not like mission 26, it's like end game.
End game.
And then all what are basically free DLC maps unlock, which you can put them on the map before this point, but you can't access them until this point.
Until you've beaten it.
Well, until you unlock the last mission.
The end game.
Which really makes those missions entirely pointless, because they're all for unlocking another unit. And it's like, I don't really need another unit. I've already got a team that will be sufficient to do this last mission.
I guess.
Yeah, perhaps they would have been useful earlier on in the campaign. But...
Yeah, and they're all stupidly dumb and hard in ridiculous ways. Some more than others. There was one where I'd never really used it up to this point, which is probably one of the reasons why, one of the things that I should have been doing. But you get this type of magical stuff that priests can use that can teleport a unit back to them. It's called a rescue staff.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And so there's obvious applications for that in certain missions throughout the game, where if you send a fast unit out to do something like open a chest or something, you can quickly pull them back before the enemies turn.
Swarm them. Yeah.
So there was one mission where I have pretty much had to use one of those to keep the NPC I was trying to protect alive, and then the last one of these DLC missions, not really DLC, they're called Spot Pass because that's what Nintendo calls internet.
Yeah.
But the last one, all the other ones had been for basically you unlock characters from the story who had died, like enemy characters. Which doesn't make any fucking sense. It's like, this enemy boss guy we defeated, he's still alive somehow, and now he's going to be on us, because we said so. Because we hired him. But then, the last one of these Spot Pass missions is for, this new character, which I assume is a reference to something that I don't know about in fucking Fire Emblem.
Fire Emblem lore.
Yeah. But it was the most ridiculous mission where there's basically a huge open flat map with almost nothing in it. There's a ruined square of a building in the middle, and that's about it. So there's almost no sort of choke points or anything, which makes it suck. In terms of a manageable level design. But it's basically you can deploy it's easily the largest number of units you can deploy. It's practically half your army that you can deploy at once in this one level.
Okay.
Against 3 times as many enemy units. So it's just this gigantic fucking ridiculous barrel. So I was trying, and because there's no choke points, which is the normal way to do this thing, you just find the choke point and then funnel the enemies into a defensive line.
Yeah.
So because I couldn't do that because there was too much. Basically,
too open.
The level's wider than it is tall. And it's really open, so there's the only choke points you can make are super wide. So you'd have to use practically all your units to build the wall, and wouldn't have anything behind them. And because it's wide and not tall, the enemies get to you in the second turn, so you don't have enough time to even set up proper defensive lines. Right. So what I was trying to do the first time was make half a defensive line on the left hand side at the corner of where the building is. And then that gives you just enough time to beat those units, and by the time the right-hand side comes down, you can flip it and swing the defensive line around.
Right.
And that was almost working, except not quite. And then so in the end I just said, oh, fuck it, and used the cheap ass tactic instead. Where instead of deploying half my army, I deployed like 3 pairs of units who had extremely high dodge values and just sat in the corner of the map and just like pansy hit at the enemies for ages as they threw themselves against me. It was like, well, that works, I guess.
But your guys like mostly avoided every attack.
Yeah. Like if you have high enough evasion. And you can
That's
like,
pretty funny.
and it's also like the enemies. There's a certain. I think it's because it's a dual. It's one of the classes that can heal and has a sword, but they also have like super high evasion. But they're not very powerful. And I think it's because they're like relatively a weak unit. The enemy will seem to target them a lot, but because they have such high evasion, they can't really hit them. So you just stand that guy there. He takes all the attacks and just evades every single one. And just hide in the corner of the map and wait and do like a million turns as you grind down this massive army that's like piled onto you in the corner. So I finally did that. But it was, of course, pointless because I didn't use any of those units in the last mission. And then I did the last mission and that was really easy as well. Compared to those DLC missions, last mission was a cakewalk. You just like walk up there and stand. You're done. End. And that was that. And
I
then
suppose you've been grinding for so long that
it's not like my guys were super high level, and especially like if you've compared it to those the enemies in the DLC missions, which were like level 20 Tech 2 units or whatever. Yeah, I mean the enemies in the last mission were that level as well. It's just that the ones in the DLCs was like had skills or whatever to make them even harder.
I see.
So yeah, I walked through the last mission of that, and then I tried to start a game again in Lunatic instead of hard difficulty, but that is fucking impossible. Because as I think you might remember ages ago when I first talked about Fire Emblem, how I said there was this ridiculous difficulty spike right at the start of the game where up until mission 6 it was like fucking impossible.
Yeah.
Fucking even, it's literally impossible in Lunatic, except obviously not literally impossible because it's possible.
Someone must have done it.
But you have to do it in such an incredibly specific way where it's just like, I could keep trying this first fucking battle over and over and over until I eventually get lucky and discover the very precise, like, exactly which square to put which unit in to cause the right thing to happen. But that's not really very fun.
No, that's not fun, is it?
Because it's you're essentially playing random, are you? You don't. It's not exactly you feeling.
Well, that's one of the other. That's one of the major problems that I came to like when I was thinking about why Advance Wars is clearly better than Fire Emblem because they're both made by Intelligent Systems. It's because Advance Wars doesn't have percentage rolls. Doesn't have a chance that you'll miss. If you make an attack, you always hit. You just do some amount of damage.
You can see what will happen.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
And also,
I mean, there's a certain amount of variance, isn't there? But it's very slight.
Well, yeah, very slight.
Like 1 or 2 of the
like
the
1 hit
point
point extra will sometimes go off. But
It's
then
just like a critical.
It makes for a far more
no,
predictable and strategic game. If you lose that, it's because you've probably fucked up your strategy.
And it's also
the same if you win. If you win, you've outplayed the strategy.
Yeah, and also in Advance Wars, it's like it's the other problem with Fire Emblem is that they don't design maps that are built. I think they want you to play in a completely different way from the way that makes sense to play. Because it's like, obviously, you like have a defensive line with your hard units in the front and the softies in the back and you shoot over and all this stuff. That makes sense. So you look for choke points and stuff, but then there's like maps that don't really have choke points and it sucks. But then a lot of the maps seem to be designed where they kind of want you to have just like pairs of units solo just running around over the map, because you can see like some maps that's just basically a big flat plain with like random fortresses spread out dotted around the map, so it makes sense to like move your units into the different fortresses.
I was never quite sure watching you play like how you could really pull that off, because everyone moves so far
and the enemies are like, and they will if there's one weak unit that's exposed to more than one enemy, they're basically dead because all the enemies will always attack them.
Yeah, I don't see how you can do that. Which is it. If that's how it feels compared to that's how you end up playing it, then that sounds like a design flaw.
Yeah, it's like they didn't make the maps match the mechanics.
Yeah.
Unlike Advance Wars, where the maps are obviously...
Do you reckon if they just reduced the movement range, that perhaps that would solve that to some degree? So I always thought that was crazy, just how far things could move and how quickly the enemy could just be on top of you.
Well, sort of. I still
because if it was a slower paced, sort of each turn was slightly less crazy, I suppose. Well, would you be able to plan for these things? But would you be able to plan a solo run? Say, if I go here, then I'm only perhaps in range of this dude next turn, as opposed to these several dudes.
Oh yeah, maybe. I see what you mean. But then there's like the third problem with the way that I think it's designed is that there's not enough separation between melee and ranged units. Like, almost every melee unit, like melee type, like knights and warriors and all that stuff, they still get ranged options. And the enemy will always, almost like 50% of the time, a warrior will be using a bow instead of an axe, because they can use bows or axes.
Right.
Or they'll have both on them, so they can switch to whichever one they want. So that like makes it even more impossible to form a defensive line or keep weak units alive.
You can't predict what they're going to be or do.
And like the whole idea of like having the flying units, which are fast and can go over inaccessible terrain or whatever, but of course they're weak to bows, and like so fucking tons of these normally melee units have bows, so you can't even expose them to enemy fire.
Huh. Yeah, it sounds a little excessively tricky. As in the rock paper scissors formula that made Advance Wars so good seems a little too wishy-washy.
Yeah.
If you've got a rock and a pair of scissors.
Yeah. It's like too many options to have.
Do you reckon it's a bit like? Is it a bit like the Pokemon problem, in a way? As in, there are so many types in that game that, and you have dual types and all that stuff. That some of the core mechanics are starting to get a little fucked.
Well, it's just that they maybe should have made like some kind of. I don't know. They could have solved the problem somewhat by just making it so that like melee units that are using ranged weapons are bad at it or something. Like, it's an option, but they should.
Oh, but they do shit all damage.
Yeah,
just as
because if it's a warrior, which is obviously has a super high strength because it's a close combat unit, the strength value still applies to their bow, so they do insane bow damage as well.
You mean a bit like if in XCOM you're using a shotgun assault guy, say, the pistol is kind of well, you can't quite reach that guy with a shotgun. I'm going to switch to the pistol and do panty damage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that would be a lot better, I think.
So yeah, that's the problems with that game.
Still,
making the Advance Wars.
I was about to say, still, it's the closest you're going to get to an Advance Wars-esque game on the 3DS for a while.
God damn it!
But, unless you get an iPad and start playing XCOM on it. But,
they need an iPad.
I know, but that's what I mean. If you want a portable version of like a strategic game like that,
no. It's not like I played it in 3DS in any portable situation anyway.
No, true. Well, you
do when you come over here or whatever, like, and you don't necessarily have access to the PC.
No, and when we're driving to Cambridge, you'll be Fire Emblem grinding
sometimes.
Yeah. So, Segue.
Yeah.
I finished a strategic game this week.
Did you?
I finished XCOM.
Oh,
I finally got around to doing the last mission.
I've played about 20 hours of XCOM over the past week.
So good.
Or something.
It's the thing. The thing with XCOM is once you get into the start of that game, there's very little else you want to do. It has the draw that I talk about,
good.
like probably more than anything I've played in a while.
It's like
the problem I had with XCOM is that once you got to the end game, it's like I was having to do this grind.
Once you screwed up,
I screwed up the end game, then the draw completely went for me until I sort of ground up my team a little bit.
Because that end mission is a total pile of bullshit.
Yeah, I carried on myself. Well, I screwed up the last mission.
Right.
When I last played, because as we talked about before, I fucked up the very last room on the last mission, and then because I wasn't saving as I went through the mission, I didn't know that was the last room.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a fatal flaw, and I put myself into an unrecoverable position. Basically, what I did,
you didn't have a save at all.
Well, yeah.
At the start of the mission, or
I
did. It restarts
before.
you. That's like the one mission where if you fail, it goes restart and then puts you back to the start of the mission, which is incredibly dumb in the context of the rest of the game for a start.
There's no lose condition if you fail the last mission. It just goes, do you want to wind back time a bit?
But an Iron Man mode.
But it will give you...
presumably.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Would it? That's interesting.
Probably would.
Anyway. Yeah. So, I did have a save sometime. I think I saved before I did the Gollop process, so I could grind up.
Right, yeah.
The Gollop process? That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Is that...
The Gollop chamber.
It's the psychic thing.
Yeah. It's made pretty clear by the game that the Gollop chamber is endgame, so I don't think that's a spoiler there.
Like, don't go here unless you do it.
Design, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
The Gollop brothers, isn't it?
Something like that. They, so I ground up my team, trying to get something that would be best suited for psionics, I guess, and resistance to that and all that stuff. In the end, I think I overdid it because the last mission was a cakewalk. By the time I actually did it,
Can you just
really easy, because I knew exactly how to play that last, and I got really lucky with the last room as well. Because I think last time what happened in the last room is I sent a mind-controlled muton in there, just going right. He's going to see what's up ahead, and that triggered the sequence of the end bit.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I was fucked because everyone got mind controlled really quickly.
Because you weren't in the room, so you couldn't even see the enemies to stop them from
running. So then they just came down the corridor and just, controlled everyone, and then I was boned. This time, I managed to get a couple of guys into Shiv in there before the sequence triggered.
Right.
It only triggered when the volunteer entered.
Right.
And then everything went nice. And because... And then things got incredibly lucky. My sniper got a double tap and killed off the 2 Muton elites, like instantly. One of my dudes got mind controlled, but the sniper on the next turn got a couple of crit shots on the main guy, and that was it.
Right,
Game over.
That's what you need.
It was the simplest fucking end section.
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah. And then the game started to glitch out a bit because I started losing sound at that point, so my end sequence was a little bit silent. But
great,
except for the videos. The videos were fine. It was just when it cut to your guy in the game world. It's sort of like he was talking silently at people.
No, I think that's intentional.
Really?
I don't think because
there's a bit of dialogue in there though.
I don't think he's meant to say anything. I think it's meant to be dramatically silent, where he's like, "Retreat, guys," and then
he goes, "No," and it's supposed to be. Well, I don't know. The subtitles came up, and nothing.
Oh, okay.
And I couldn't hear the voice of the aliens.
Right.
So yeah, it went a bit wrong for me. But anyway, I finished it. Hooray!
Good.
I'm not sure I want to go back to it now I've done that, is the thing.
No.
I'm not sure I want to go back to classic mode. I'd probably leave it for a while.
Yeah.
And if I want a game like that, perhaps I should dive into Civ 5, something like that.
Yeah, I was just thinking that Civ can easily has the same kind of draw, but the thing is that XCOM kind of has more kind of natural stopping points in a way, because you can kind of stop after a mission. Whereas
Civ has one whole game because there's no reason to stop.
Yeah,
because it so smoothly transitions between every era and everything. There's no
civilization just goes on.
It's a flow.
Yeah,
the whole there is turn by turn flow is really smooth.
Because kind of in XCOM, you get back from a mission and you're like, oh, in 2 days I'll have cyber shit or whatever.
Yeah.
So you fast forward, but then of course abductions. But you can then save and quit.
Yeah.
And then come back and start that mission anew the next time. So it's like, whereas in Civ, it's just like, oh, next time I've got this. Yeah. Oh, the next time I've got that. Oh, this is going to happen. There's a certain amount of the plan of what you're trying to achieve, and while you've got that plan in your head and you're still working towards it, you just keep going. You don't page it out.
And it's even worse if you're like a crazy obsessive person like me who wants to micromanage all the workers.
Yeah.
It's because there's always something completing every turn, some bit of land management that's completed, so you have to move them to another square and then set that off.
There's something to do.
Yeah. There was a brief period of time where I started getting into that sort of level of management.
I'm looking forward to it because I didn't buy it deliberately in this Steam sale because I wanted to buy it in the next one when Brave New World is part of the sale.
Yeah, true.
Because I don't really want to play it without all the expansions, really. That is the last one, I guess, isn't it? Are they planning another one?
Probably the last big one. They might shit out some more civilizations and maps or something.
Out some more shit. Yeah. Don't you get everything, all the features from the previous one with Brave New World, you just don't get the civilizations. That's what I heard. So you upgrade your game completely.
I don't really know. But that would make sense. Because otherwise it would be like they'd have to have the rules of Brave New World would have to account for either the other stuff being there or not, which is probably...
Yeah. I've heard that it's a bit weird in that some of the elements they add to the game kind of diminish the purpose of some of the old mechanics that were there, to the point where they become kind of useless, or their impact is tiny compared to what you can now do. There are some balancing problems. Well, yeah, and apparently some of I can't remember which one it is, but there's one of the new mechanics in particular that is possibly too viable a means of victory, as in it's relatively easy to accomplish compared to some of the others.
Part of the Brave New World thing is I think they did this in Civ 4, probably in one of those expansions, but it's also in Brave New World where they basically make it so that the UN sort of exists in the past, where it's like the World Council or whatever, before it became the actual UN. But that always sucks, because diplomatic victory is the worst!
Yeah.
Oh no, they voted against me and then I lose.
Because that's the random win, isn't it? Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that's dumb. Yeah, Civilization.
But I'm wondering if that's the sort of game I should be playing in this kind of heat, 'cause it's not real. You don't really get hyped up about it, I suppose.
You can't.
It's a very calm sort of game.
I don't know. It depends if you want to ever go outside again, because you'll just spend all your time goddamn playing Civ. I do anyway. Last time I played Civ, it was Civ 4, and I had a laptop, so I was walking around different rooms and playing it everywhere.
Holy crap!
I mean, it was yeah. It was
I got
ridiculous.
I did
Watching TV, doing it.
I got I did periods like that
winter.
when I was first playing XCOM, where it would just sap days. Like,
So-
I'd lose a weekend.
I am now playing XCOM for the first time.
Yeah.
So
It took me 40 odd hours.
oh really?
With your Wii
Okay.
grinding.
Well, yeah, admittedly, at least 5 of those hours was grind.
Does it take
at
40
the end.
hours? Because I read somewhere that it
I
takes
did
20 to 25, and I'm like, well, I'm at 20. I'm only at the mid game. I'm sure.
Yeah, well, you get a load of stats at the end, and apparently I wasn't far off the average game time.
Right.
I was a little bit slower, but my speed to all of the mid-game checkpoints was a lot faster.
Yeah.
Like, I rushed through the main game
Well,
and then
because
had a problem at the end. And then,
It's like there's no, unless you know what's going to happen.
Which I don't. I have no clue, so I'm clueless. So
Yeah, it's
quite
like if
funny.
it is better, actually, that we don't
Well, yeah.
tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
But
that'd be helpful.
when you're doing that first playthrough, when you don't know what's going to happen,
Yeah.
when you do those mission critical things, that's where it can fuck you up. Because it's like if you trigger the psychic aliens to appear before your dudes have leveled up far enough that they can resist mind control, you're kind of, it's going to make things real difficult.
Right.
Yeah.
And once
For a
you've done it
little while.
once, you know what triggers
Yeah.
what. See,
you know, like,
'cause
don't research the navigator immediately, because then you can just grind up in the easy section.
Yeah.
right.
I like some of the second wave options that seem that then come. Like,
Yeah.
some of them sound pretty cool, like the random stats and not all rookies are created equal stuff. So it makes your people slightly more variable. Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. Although it sucks to have the menu system to even look at those stats does kind of suck.
Oh, there's some glitches in the end game stat as well. It was saying that my score was like 900 or something.
Right.
My total score. And it said the world's score was like several million. And it's like, I'm pretty sure that's not the average if you just accidentally combined them all.
Unless that was the hacking,
Yeah,
where
possibly.
someone's
actually-
final score was like a
But
million.
but it was like a million with a decimal point and then some. Because it's like, I'm not even sure you can do that.
So everything's new to me, so I guess you guys have to tell me what's going on. It's really good. I'm enjoying it.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's really well
I mean,
done.
I
It's
think
pretty slick.
I think the
I
one
haven't
thing that
had
might have made it better is, and I think we talked about this when Zach was playing it through, is I think I would have preferred the level design to have been a little more procedural.
Yeah.
Because if there's one thing I've been realising of late, procedural games just hook you in a lot more than I think if they were statically done. Like Rogue Legacy, I think it's actually pretty simple. If that was a static design, it wouldn't nearly be as interesting.
No.
Binding of Isaac, which I've been playing quite a bit this last week, that's the entire thing would not work if it wasn't random.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I guess because the original XCOM had more procedural stuff, didn't it? I guess.
yeah,
To some extent. I mean, obviously there were still like groups of buildings and stuff would always appear together. And
Yeah.
because it just gets that little bit tedious playing through the same area when you start to recognise.
Because I haven't
things.
seen too many that are the same.
No.
There's quite a few,
Yeah.
I
but there
guess-
does come a point where you start seeing,
Yeah.
It's mainly the landing sites.
yeah,
Yeah, the landing sites, because the landing sites you get at first are corridors, pretty much. So that makes it easier to fight,
Yeah.
certainly.
Where it's just like the ship is down there.
Down at the end, and you go over there. But I'm starting to get where you start in a corner of a square. And
Well,
Yeah.
they're just not very interesting areas anyway.
Where
To
it's
be
just,
honest,
yeah, they are a bit dull.
and most of the time, like any aliens that are outside the ship are almost no threat because they're really easy to see them because it's mostly flat.
and then
Must
it
be
becomes more of
open.
a problem when you get the bigger ships because the bigger ships always have the same layout.
And the bigger ships like occupy most of the map, so
Yeah.
you're doing most of your fighting inside the ship.
Yeah, so that it becomes more of a problem later.
Yeah. I've only had one big ship so far, I think. Presumably that happens every time. There's always a big ship near the start or something. Relative. Or, I don't know.
No, it doesn't have to be.
No.
It looks like a big truck thing, like
Yeah.
a big square thing.
The cargo ships.
I
It
guess.
took me a really long time before I saw one of those.
Oh, right,
actually.
okay.
I didn't have one of those for ages.
I must have got lucky. I don't know what tech that gave me. I don't know. Probably a bunch of crap.
I can't remember what the
Anyway.
cargo gives you. Oh, is that what you
See,
I
I haven't
think the
got.
cargo ships give you anything specific, unless in the late game they can have like commanders in the.
I was
bridge.
about to say, have you seen the higher ranked sectoids yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
The latest enemy is the robot disc thing.
Yeah.
That's the newest. I guess I don't know.
Okay, that's still relatively early. They're not.
Yeah, I'm probably quite early. I presume I've got plasma rifles and Titan armor for the first time.
Oh, you got. Oh, okay. No,
I've got 2 guys with Titan armor. I can't afford any more yet.
Okay, no,
but maybe that might be because
So your sequence is weird then. If you're only just seeing discs and yet you've got that stuff.
That just depends on what you research.
I was about to say, that's a really different order for me.
I went for that research early because I wanted that armor.
Well, you obviously want to have the plasma rifles because that's always important.
Yeah, I didn't know.
The alien guns.
Hello. Yeah, exactly. Because I think I was putting off the laser research. Or something.
You don't put off the laser research. That's virtually the first thing you should always do, even though you know you're going to get plasma.
Because I was sticking with
my plasma took a real long time. I was missing something that stopped me from researching it for ages.
Oh, did you?
I got plasma quite late.
Because I've stuck entirely with the standard human weapons.
Those are terrible!
All the way up to now my plasma rifles. So now I have a team with 2 plasma rifles and the rest are human machine guns and the sniper rifles and shit. Yeah, so I'm going to skip straight to plasma. That's my plan. Ooh.
Nova's just walked in clutching an iPad mini.
Ooh, is that a present?
Brand new.
Awesome.
No, it's a present.
It's very Christmas. Christmas in July. It's the best Christmas.
It's tax-free Christmas present.
Ooh, how comes that?
Awesome. Went to Jersey.
Jersey
Illegal import.
Awesome. Top tip. Tip top. Yeah, what else is going on? I haven't bothered to attack the base. I don't know when I have to do that.
You know, that's another one of the mission triggers, really.
I'm just leaving it. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You haven't,
it says priority 1, and I'm like, I've ignored it for like 3 months.
Because that's really the trigger that steps everything up to the next level. Where you get the upgraded sectoids.
Because I don't get what the point of doing it is. Might as well just leave it.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's so different from the way how my playthrough is.
It's not causing any panic.
You did the base really early.
I did it really early, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't done it at all. I'm trying to get... I got my first... I just got my first awesome alien tech interceptor thing.
Yeah.
But I've only got interceptors in 2 places, so I don't know whether to start putting them or start ordering, because I have a feeling that
they're going to depends on what your satellite coverage is. Really.
Well, yeah, I've got a few now. Well, obviously the focus, that's all I knew going in was I needed satellites.
Yeah.
So I now have I have 2 uplinks and a Nexus, and so that gives you 10 spots, and I'm just building satellites every time one finishes. I start building another one. So there's no gaps in my satellite manufacture.
Yeah.
So, so I've only got them over North America and Europe so far. I managed to get. I think I've managed to get 2 sets.
Yeah.
So 2 bonus things.
If you.
I think I've got North America and Europe all decked out, but nothing else.
Well, it's in theory, the South American one is easy because it's only 2 places.
Oh, cool. Well, I could get that.
Because it's Brazil and Argentina.
But it depends on the panic.
It's you want to save it until the last possible moment, of course. But then the advantage of getting the South American ones is the bonus is actually quite useful.
What's the bonus to South America?
All your
because it doesn't tell you, does it?
Well,
it just gives you a name.
It does if you.
Was it
go into the main map or something?
Well, at the start of the game,
at the start of the game, yeah.
You get told what the bonus for each area is.
Oh crap! I missed
the one you picked as your starting area.
Oh,
you don't really have a choice though on normal difficulty because it always. You can't. I don't think you can do. You can only do Europe and America.
That's right. I think
you can't choose the other 2.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. So what's the South American?
South American one is all the interrogations and autopsies complete instantly, so you don't have to waste any time.
Oh. I'd probably have them all done by the time.
Yeah, no, that's the trouble. If you don't get that early enough, it becomes pointless. But if you do get it early, it's that shit. You can just get it done.
That's only useful right at the start of the game.
Damn.
So it might be useful. Start.
I mean, there are quite a lot of fucking autopsies to do.
Yeah, but they don't take any time. Really.
Yeah,
they take a few days.
Yeah, I suppose.
But if it's instant, then take no time.
Because I just caught my first live berserker dude.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's going to give me when I interrogate a retarded berserker thing.
I think it gives you something useless. I think it's stim packs.
Well, no, I got stim packs from
not
doing the
medical.
autopsy.
Oh yeah.
So
no,
from
right.
the interrogation, maybe I get something even better.
I doubt it.
Crap.
You'll probably get
But it's
like,
probably
armor
Anyway.
upgrade.
Yeah, it'd be a research option.
Yeah,
wouldn't
the
it?
interrogations give you the bonuses, don't they? Like the sectoid interrogation gives you bonus to lasers, rifles.
Yeah,
So,
fast research.
as you can tell, I don't really know what the hell I'm doing. But hopefully...
But that's part of the game.
Yes, hopefully I will figure out. I've lost 2 guys over the course of it so far. I don't know how
I can't remember how many I lost.
Match.
I lost a reasonable amount right at the start.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
obviously. Don't you lose anyone once they get good.
I don't know what to do because I've got a load of good guys. Like I've got like 3 majors or something, like hardcore dudes.
Yeah.
But I'm worried that I probably shouldn't be worried now. But there's a thing that offers a training school, which is like £200 that I was thinking of buying, which is like you get more will on level up.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I was thinking-
that is incredibly useful if you're going for to take a team to the end. 'Cause
Well, that's what I was thinking. So I was thinking, okay, I better get that now. But then I'm going to have to let my current awesome dudes are going to be useless at the end.
Well, it
Even
depends
if
what
they
their
survive.
original will stats were like and how many
Yeah.
times they got injured.
Does it?
Oh, I didn't realise that.
Does the
Does that
injury-
negatively? Oh, that's
Yeah.
probably why my original team sucked at will. Then
If you get an injury, then you get a penalty to your will bonus.
Oh,
Ah.
crap. My guys got injured quite a bit, I think.
so you might need to train. Well, I suppose that the game does encourage you to keep training. New
That's the
rookies.
thing I haven't done
Yeah.
is like bring a rookie along because I basically have enough for my awesome team and not much else.
So that's why
Like
you
current
need
state.
in order to train rookies, you need to invent stupid things for. You have to use them in very specific ways, or just use them suicidally until one of them survives. Like use them as the guy who only has an arc thrower and just legs it up to dudes and tries to zap them because it doesn't matter if they die, and then if you capture them, you get an extra bonus.
Oh, that's true. I hadn't thought of using them as cannon fodder.
That's pretty funny.
But that becomes much easier to train up people once you get a shiv, because then you can
I
use
don't know
that
what
to
that is.
scout
Yeah.
is that like
the
a...
tanks,
Oh, right.
mobile.
Are they worthwhile then? Should I
Yes,
research
yeah.
that shit?
They're pretty useful.
Okay.
Because then you can just use a shiv to scout, because that doesn't matter. It has quite a lot of health, but it doesn't matter really if it gets blown up.
They don't,
okay.
they don't level up or anything, so you don't need to.
Well, that's cool.
So,
If they die, it's like, well, fine, that's going to cost me some money
Buy
and
a new
time
one.
to replace. But
so that makes it much easier to see where the aliens are, which means you can plan your attacks on them much better. And then also, if you use your other units for do suppression or whatever, hold a shitty alien down so the rookie can kill it and get the bonus and level up
well,
that way.
I just use
that's
them
cool.
to pick up to be the picker offer. So most of the guys do most of the damage, and then the rookie will come in and mop up.
Risky,
Yeah,
because the rookie's so bad he might just miss.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. You try and do it so it's in the middle of the turn, so
Yeah.
the rookie takes his shots, and if that fails, then you've got some other dudes to just go, screw it.
And of course, if you want to waste some resources, you can always just have rookies with grenades.
Oh,
I haven't
true.
used grenades at all.
No, they're pretty useless
I always
because
give
they
them
do so little damage.
I always give them the nanofiber or whatever if I've got nothing else.
Yeah,
Give them a tiny bit more health.
Yeah.
definitely.
Although I'm not sure at this point. Now I've got Titan armor dudes. I'm thinking of if they have nano fiber vest, which gives them 2 more health,
yeah.
I might swap that for a scope because
Oh, for the snipers, yeah, do that.
all my snipers have scopes, but just general guys maybe they benefit from a scope.
I didn't
Is it the
end
same
up doing that
bonus,
with my
right?
normal
Well,
guys.
it's a bonus to accuracy. I don't
Yeah.
know how it stacks. But the way I always had it is I always had...
What would you put on them?
I had my heavy weapons guys always had scopes.
Okay.
And then the snipers always carried extra medkits.
Oh, I'll
Yeah.
put that on support.
Well, yeah, obviously the support... I always had one support guy with upgraded medkit
Yeah,
carrying, so you
3
could have a
times.
ridiculous number of
Yeah.
medkits. And then the snipers just had extra medkits
Oh.
to maybe heal the support guy in case he got shot.
I just give them scope because it's
Yeah.
awesome when you get 100% chance.
Well, the snipers get that much accuracy really easily anyway.
Do they? Oh, yeah. I don't know. Plus 10 is a lot
Yeah.
of
And then I
chance.
can't remember what I gave regular dudes. I mean, obviously, occasionally you'd have... This was because I had the stupid armour colours. I'd colour my dudes' armours depending on what
Oh,
secondary
can you do
attachment
that?
they... Well, I don't think you can
No,
unless you have the
you-
armour colour
No,
pack,
yeah,
which was a pre-order thing.
yeah.
I haven't looked at
didn't
the
have it, and
customise
it was-
options.
I didn't have it, and at first it was a little irritating because it was I wasn't paying attention to what everyone's class was,
Yeah.
and it's until I eventually...
Well, until they actually leveled up so their classes mattered.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Annoyances. I don't know. The UI has screwed me up a few times in the battles.
How are you
Occasionally.
playing? Mouse and keyboard or controller?
Mouse and keyboard.
I'll change the controller.
Really?
Yeah, I found controller a lot easier.
Can you do that on PC?
Yeah.
Okay. Why is that easier then?
I don't know. It's just there are certain.
Well, it's because the
It's
control
the way
when you're scrolling the thing around on the map, it like magnetizes to the grid. So when you're with the mouse, you can move like one pixel and it'll be in a different square, and then that can cock you up.
Yeah, I had problems with
up.
the mouse where if I was hovering over a certain area, it couldn't quite make up its mind where to go, like to be, especially on the levels with building.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
It would sometimes get confused with the floor above, and it's like, no, don't do
I've
that.
had those problems.
yeah, that's a lot easier with the controller.
Because I've accidentally, other things I've done stupidly is, like with the keyboard and stuff, I've wanted to like turn the camera and I've accidentally fucking reloaded when I wanted to move before I reloaded or whatever. And then you're like stuck, exposed, and then stupid things where you look like you're going somewhere.
I think while I was playing with keyboard, I ended up rebinding some of those keys to try and avoid that from happening.
Yeah, because I kept like, so a number of times I've been cocked up just by the user interface. Like sometimes the icons in the bar when you're changing weapons, they move, so you can actually accidentally click. You're trying to reload, and then it's gone on to something else.
Yeah, I found
the numbers change, which is equally bad.
Yeah. The number thing. Yeah, I found the controller forced you to just be that little bit more deliberate because it's same when you go to the aim mode, and if you want to switch what you're doing, you have to use the D-pad to swap between what you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, to scroll along that options bar.
So did you use the controller? Did you use Rob's?
Yeah, I used
Xbox controller.
I have at my house permanently.
Okay.
Apparently,
I shall get hold of. I shall try it with that mode on.
Yeah, I found it better.
Okay, interesting. And
weirdly, you get more dialogue.
That was just a weird thing that I never understood.
Well, it's like when
it seemed like a bug, but
when they're moving to a location, they'll say like, "We're moving on, hustling," or something like that.
Right.
And when you go to Overwatch, it's like Overwatch, eyes open, and all this stuff,
Yeah.
which doesn't happen with the keyboard.
I've got my eyes on.
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
it's sort of cool, but
sometimes it gets quite irritating.
Yeah, it's like
All right.
almost too much.
Yeah.
That's one thing that would, as an obvious thing, that would have severely improved it. Well, not severely, but it would have improved the game quite a bit. I could see why it would have been a pain to do, but they should have got all the different nationalities and accents.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that would have been so cool if you're like a Mexican dude had like an awesome. You'd have to have got like for every area for every country they could have come from. You would have had to have an accent for male and female.
Let's
versions.
muchacho.
But that would have been so cool because I've got this awesome Mexican sniper lady. In fact, most of my team are ladies. I think I've got an entirely lady team. Even my heavies are ladies. It seems
naturally.
But they're all like hyper leveled up. But they don't have awesome regional accents. They all sound American, which is dumb because like they're like Italian.
And sometimes even your dude from Russia.
Yeah.
Who seems to have the voice of a black man is kind of the weirdest combination. Sometimes
it's just like it's quite. Which is a shame.
Yeah, there are some weird combos in how because it presumably just allocates a random voice. Like it doesn't really.
You can go and change it if you want.
Oh, can you?
You can customize. What?
Okay.
I never really toyed with the customized
I guess you probably
stuff.
could because that's probably not a part of the armor color pack. The voice is probably actually you can probably do it.
Yeah, I never really toyed with the customized.
No,
I
not really any
touched
reason
that.
to.
No.
The music's pretty good.
Yeah, I like the music.
I think the general ambient like bass music is a little bit Deus Ex-y in places. I thought at first, but it's quite good. And
it's a bit generic.
Yeah, it's a bit generic.
If you know what I mean, but I think that's almost works because of the sort of weird campy style of the game.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, and actually the voice acting of the sort of general like the bass dudes is pretty good.
The three main bass guys.
Apart from a couple of bits.
Yeah.
There's a couple of line readings which were like, what? Why did you say it like that?
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, generally
it's really funny. Some of the ones I had the sub box on, and the sub box is pretty terrible in this game because it puts a little hover in the top right, like corner of the screen and puts the text in there, and it scrolls kind of weirdly and sometimes screwed up. So it was just showing the start of the text; it would flicker on and off and never scroll. But some of the times where they've tried to put into the subtitle a bit of emphasis, like how the person was reading it, like there's a line towards the end where the scientist goes, "We've pushed human evolution so far," and it puts "so far" in the subtitles.
So far. If I could push human evolution, I would be so happy.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb in places.
Yeah, it's cool. It's nice.
It's still the dumbest line reading in that game is the one where where the first time you go to the money map or whatever, the country map.
Yeah, the situation
where he's like, if a country leaves the XCOM program, they'll take their money with them. Like, what? That was a completely weird, random pause
Where
in
are
the
they
middle of that
going
sentence.
with their money anyway?
You turned the page and saw there was more in that sentence.
Yeah.
Oh, with them.
And why do you get like weird ambient things from that guy, but only when you're looking at the situation room?
Yeah, I don't know. That's just like it's meant to be.
Oh yeah, because sometimes
background noise.
Yeah.
sometimes that'll be for something that happened a few turns ago or something. Or
No, I think
Well,
it's
it's just
random
random,
crap,
like
isn't it?
stupid things. It's like,
like,
come on home, 725.
What do you mean you saw a snake? What the hell has that got to do with anything? It was just so dumb. Yeah. No, it's super slick. I really enjoy it. And I hope I don't get too screwed up. I've had a couple of hard... The first time I saw the robot stuff, that was like a terror attack.
Yeah.
I mean, is that always the same? I don't know. It was only my second
I
terror...
guess it must be.
yeah, that first one is.
It was like...
Well, no, the first one.
No, it was the second
maybe
terror
not.
attack. The first terror attack was a corridor, and I got to save a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And then the second one is like I don't think I saved a single.
Oh
one.
no, I lost practically everyone on my first terror mission. It was real bad.
Like because it was just full of chrysalis
Yeah.
things, and I couldn't even move from where I even started.
Yeah.
Like there was no chance. They instantly turned everyone into zombies.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. So all I did was kill everyone as fast as I could.
Yep.
I guess, and that's the best I could do. But I basically didn't move. I was like in a corner of the map. It was Birmingham, apparently. I know it's just I was just stacked up against a bunch of vehicles, going, "Oh god, there's zombies and chrysalises, and now there's a fucking tank with repair drones that are repairing the tank. God damn it!" Anyway, yeah, managed to get through it somehow with my pansy human weaponry, which I hadn't upgraded at all.
That's yeah.
I had the carapace armor. That was the first thing I
Oh, what you
upgraded.
got off the chrysalis? Oh no, wait, sorry,
No,
that's the blue armor.
Yeah, but now I've got the couple of Titan armors and plasma rifles. So I guess my priority is plasma, other shit like sniper rifles and heavy.
if you can.
It's
Yeah.
really expensive though.
If you've got the light rifles,
That's why you should have got lasers.
I was
But
about to
then
say-
you'd have these options.
I was about to say,
Something-
have you got the light plasmas, or have you managed to get to the full plasmas?
I've gone to full plasma
Okay,
rifle.
cool.
I've gone all the way to full plasma rifle. I just skipped everything, which means I have crap, half awesome and half crap.
Yeah.
So,
So that could be a little. Yeah, you're right. That could cause you a little bit of a problem in terms of cash flow.
well, I spent all my money on satellites
can't
because I
get
know that
them.
would give me
Yeah.
more money in the ultimately.
Yeah. It's not like you can get plasma rifles very easily.
No, you don't pick them up off the ground. very
No,
often.
you have to if you lose a lot of arc
Stun
throwing.
metals. Yeah, exactly. Well, I've got two or three is probably enough to
Yeah.
get going, really.
Apart from then, you have to suffer the annoyance of having to de-equip your guys every time you want to take someone different to a mission.
Yeah,
God damn that
yeah,
menu.
that is annoying.
That's probably the worst bit of the game for me, is that menu system. I just want a single button to just say unequip everything.
Yep.
Like, so you can just go. Actually, it's weird because it's actually more usable when you're in the barracks, because you can use the bumpers on the controller to go next soldier, previous soldier,
Yeah.
Oh,
which
right.
you can't do in the squad selection screen.
Right, okay. The squad selection screen has that awesome drums
Dun,
music.
dun, dun, dun,
That is super
dun,
cool.
dun, It's a bit Battlefield.
that whole slickness of like, okay, there's an attack, and now you move to select your squad, and it's got all the music, and they're on the ramp with the plane, and then they get in the plane, and then as it's loading,
on the plane,
you see the loading, and you see them sitting on
and
the
it
plane.
is your squad. It's
And
quite funny if you have a lot of shivs in that view,
Yeah.
because it's just like a wall of tech. There's one, if one of them gets really bad in position, it seems to take up like a good quarter of the screen just in front of the camera. It's like it's a big old fat shiv there.
You get your awesome landing animation and everyone coming out. It's all super like
That
nicely
that
tied
whole
together.
start of the mission is pretty cool.
Yeah. And Sky Ranger is a cool thing. I quite like the design of it. It's a bit
Yeah.
fat, but it's kind of cool.
And some things should probably burn under those jets sometimes. But
Yeah, the jets though are classic sci-fi. None of this, like, it's basically a Thunderbird, effectively, because it's like hypersonic, which it could never do because of the shape of it.
yeah,
And it can VTOL land mysteriously on jets. It's basically Thunderbird 2, except quite a lot smaller. Yes. Yeah. So I don't really know what I'm doing with the interceptors because I've only seen like 2 UFOs and shot, or 2 or 3 and shot them down.
Well,
So-
if you've got the fancy interceptors,
I've got
then-
one fancy interceptor so far.
Yeah, then things. Oh, that and the EMP cannon, and then things just get a lot easier.
Oh, you went EMP, did you?
Yeah, that just
What-
killed.
what-
That just.
I've got the
that was
pulse thing.
Way too.
I always
easy.
just go for the cheap, the one that's the longest possible range, because then, then you're safer.
I don't think I've got that yet. What can I buy that or research?
I can't remember which one it is. I can't remember whether the laser one or the plasma one is better.
Right.
Because it always used
The
to be.
plasma ones were really close.
The laser
or
is
the
crazy
early one
long.
I've got is like really close. So maybe it's the laser.
The laser is the long range one.
Because it always used to be in old XCOM that you just had to get the plasma one in old XCOM as soon as possible because it could shoot further than all the UFOs could. So you just
Right.
sat there and picked them off because they could attack you back unless it
How
was a
did that
battleship.
look in the original
It
XCOM?
was just like a little picture of a plane and then a UFO, and then they changed colour
Because
they got damaged.
it's pretty simple now.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's super simple now. I was wondering because people, that could have been more complex, couldn't it?
There
Well,
could have
it's
been
'cause
more of a game. Too.
Yeah.
it was slightly more complicated in the original because you could basically they'd start off separated, and then when you pushed attack, the plane would move into its attack range, and then you could set different the more aggressive you set it, the closer it would get, so it could go even further inside its range to make it more likely to hit, but then it would get shot more, and then you could tell it to back off or whatever depending on what
interesting.
weapons you had.
That's kind of cool.
So it's actually slightly more complicated.
A bit more involved. Because those fights usually end in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving
So
on.
that's
Younger
XCOM.
XCOM.
So, other game I played from the Steam sale, which was £1.74,
Bargain.
was I haven't played it for like a week and a half, I don't think. So,
Right.
so I have to get my memory together for it. But it was Hotline Miami,
Oh, I have that, but I haven't played it yet.
which is a little bit buggy, but also freaking amazing. I really like it. It's really good. I mean, I could see why. I read the. I think Eurogamer gave it 10 out of 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, I can see where they're coming from. It's madness to give it 10 out of 10, obviously, because it is like a bit busted in places and a bit weird and how can you give anything 10 out of 10?
Yeah.
But for £1.74, I would happily give it 10 out of 10 because it's mental. I don't know, and I mean, the thing about it is there's the combination of the gameplay itself, and also the whole atmosphere it sets up is weirdly effective, considering it's this weird 2D top-down pixel, but it's so well done. The
hyper neon and the crazy wobbly text on everything.
Yeah, everything everything woozy, and
Yeah.
it's pretty much. I mean, apparently in the credits, the director of Drive is specifically thanked as like the key inspiration because it pretty much is Drive, the whole
the music
atmosphere.
style, the synth pop, I guess.
The 80s weirdness. Not that the Drive is set in the 80s, but somehow it feels 80s.
It has that kind of
Yeah. I guess somebody described it as like, oh, it's got graphics of GTA 1 with the style of Vice City, but no, it's a lot more gritty and grim. And I'm thinking maybe it only I like it more because I like to drive, for example. I know other people might not like that weird style.
Well, I can see that, but Kippers wouldn't be into Drive.
No, he wouldn't. No.
But he likes Hotline Miami.
Right, okay.
Well, I think it's because Kippers likes
the game.
Those type of games, like Binding of Isaac and
he likes like high action, simple games.
Things that you just do the same thing over and over until you get better.
Yeah. Which is cool, which is what it is. I mean, it's literally, it's got the...
It's the shmup thing, isn't it? That's why I like shmups. It's a similar sort of thing. Simple game, really, but, you do get better at them.
Yeah.
I guess. I wouldn't... In that respect, I guess I compare it, but it's not really... I thought it was... I'd seen some footage and I completely got the wrong idea. I thought it was a really fast-paced shooting.
Oh no, it's not. No,
and it's so not. I mean, when you see videos,
kind of methodical.
Yeah, when you see videos of it, you see people doing perfect runs, which looks like you have to have insane reactions to be able to do any of it. But it's not really like that at all. In fact, I spend most of my time playing the game just hanging out in a corridor outside a room, waiting and thinking, how the hell? Because you have to murder everyone in a room within about 1 second, otherwise you're dead.
Yeah.
And it's just that you have. So I spent ages planning it. I'm sure a lot of people probably could spend less time and get through, maybe. But I'm just like, because it's like so tense, and then you suddenly burst in and you have to murderize everyone instantly.
So what's the bigger structure of the game? Is it basically just like a level by level? Sort of thing?
So it's level by level, and in between every level, there's a little bit of kind of story, but there's it's a level where you move around, but there's no threats or whatever. That's a story, and generally you just go and presumably pick up your money in a paper bag or whatever it is for what you're doing. Because all you do is you start in your apartment every time. You go to your phone and you get the job, which has some weird. Like, it's never like, oh, we need you to kill these guys here. It's always, oh, we need you to deliver a pizza, or oh, we need some weird thing that like they just give you the address, and then afterwards you go to some establishment like a video rental place or a pizza parlor or something, and it's always the same guy behind the counter who gives you, presumably cash. I don't know, but none of it seems to like you have no idea why you're doing what you're doing or what's really going on. It's not really
story driven.
No, and you can tell your guy is... Well, that's the thing. I think it does have an overarching story.
It's all going to be revealed at the last possible.
Yeah, only it gets revealed at the end, which I haven't seen. But you're definitely going insane because, you see these guys. You wear masks that give you different bonuses that you can choose at the start of the mission. But you also see visions of guys in masks that talk to you, in weird chicken masks and pig masks and things, and ask you weird questions and shit. And there's and everything outside the play area is glowing with insane neon. And then I was trying to work out how the wooziness actually works, because when you're talking to people, their heads woozing back and forth, and the text is wobbling crazily. But when you're in a level, it rocks back and forth, but only when you're moving. So
okay. Stop. So it's momentum rocking.
Well, it's not based on your momentum or anything.
Oh, is it not?
No, it just twists the level as you move. I think it just rocks back and forth. So everything's always on a wonk. Nothing, despite the fact that it's basically a grid-based 2D down, it's never... I don't think you can even walk far enough to make it line up square, because I think it always has to be on the wonk to a certain degree, which just makes the whole thing really weird and woozy. But yeah, the main game, burst in and murderize everyone. And the instant you die, which happens all the time, you get instantly restarted just from the not even the start of that level, just the start of that floor. So some levels with multiple floors.
Yeah. So the levels are sort of segregated. At least you don't have to worry about people coming up from downstairs.
No, you don't. Okay. No, it's only people on your floor that you have to worry about, I think, in general. Very Swiss. So let me think. And so at first I thought guns are a waste of time and it's all melee is the way to go, but you do start to realise that guns are kind of useful.
Is it presumably a shotgun in those tight spaces?
Yeah, shotguns are the best, I think. The other guns are... There's an auto shotgun, which is the most useful, because you can kind of...
You can do your 1 second plan. Just walk in and go bang, bang, bang.
Well, no, not really. It's more because...
More trigger them and then back out the room.
Yeah.
So you just come to you.
Yeah, you basically kite them towards you sometimes on later levels. So basically the AI is super dumb. It looks like something we could have made on the Games Factory pretty much. They kind of walk... Well, they do have pathfinding, because they will walk... Once they've triggered a alarm or whatever, or they know where you are, they will... navigate around, but other than that, it's so basic. They just sort of they have patrols, but then if you disrupt them, they kind of get
they just start bouncing ball movement.
Yeah.
They just bounce around the room, and then sometimes they'll actually hit a door and go out, and then be in a different.
Yeah, sometimes they move. So every time you start the floor again, it's not always exactly the same.
It's because it's all the patrolling guys are the same, but there's normally one dude who's just random,
wobbled somewhere or something. So have you played much of this thing?
No, I haven't played it at all. I just saw videos.
Oh, you just saw videos? Okay. It's a shame you didn't get it in the sale, actually.
Yeah, I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
Wait for the next sale.
Next sale. But Yeah, exactly. So you have to kind of, and there are later on you can get away with, once the levels get a little bit bigger, you can get away with running away and hiding, and they will kind of lose you if they've been following you. But then, I don't know. It's a real. There's definitely a certain amount of luck to actually getting through a floor, combined with all the skill that you've learned. So you do end up doing the same starting bit over and over again, and just murderizing 5 guys with one swing or something like that. But then you have to plan the next part, and I don't know. So the combination of the atmosphere and the story stuff, not that I understand what the hell is going on, that's really good. And then the gameplay is just really addictive, yeah. Because once you do one, you just have to start the next one, pretty much.
Well, that's cool. That's reassuring.
It's really good. Love it. And I thought it's hyper-violent. Like, it's so violent. Like, the blood just splats. The best thing about it is like, once you get to the end of a level where you've done 3 floors of murdering people, you get to the end, the music stops once you've killed the last guy. The awesome 80s music, which is really well done, because it's kind of sinister as well. It's not like happy-go-lucky 80s synth or whatever. It's like really but it stops and there's this wah sound, and then you have to walk back to your car. So you walk past like these scenes of carnage, like blood and guts all over the walls, and you walk down every floor and you see as well. It's so cool because it's like, my God, what have I done? I like that, because there's the mechanic that if you knock someone down because you can use the doors to knock people down.
Oh, that's cool.
So when they walk past, if you open the door on them, that will knock them down. But by default, that won't kill them. You have to run up, grab them, and smash their head into the floor. And then, of course, this is all pixelated and like from above.
Yeah.
But you know what's really going on.
Yeah. So it's not really. You're not really seeing it. It's not like Manhunt.
No, not at all.
It's like, but it's enough there. I guess that's why GTA. That sort of argument, isn't it? That GTA, even the first GTA, is really pretty violent, really. But it's.
I guess, but it doesn't have the graphicness of this, despite being a similar perspective. Like GTA 1, people just sort of explode into. You hit them with one machine gun bullet, and they sort of
They fall over and there's some blood.
Yeah, exactly. But this is like it does spray up the walls or along the carpet and stuff. They've done that like really well. And when you die, of course, which happens all the time, because they will just turn down and shoot you instantly if you the slightest hesitation, which is so the combination of bad AI with instant kill reaction times on the AI is like pretty interesting. It's basically like the game that your parents were worried about in 1991 made real.
No, that's Double Dragon 2.
Yeah.
Which was significantly less violent.
Yeah, but this is like what people were. Yeah, Double Drag 2. Yeah, but this is like much worse than that. Yeah. It's so good. Yeah. So, please. Yeah.
Don't let your kids play it.
Don't. Yeah. Oh, and one of them, the mask that I wear the most actually is the Don Juan, which is the horse head, and that means that the door thing kills. So it's really useful. In fact, you can totally jip that, because quite a few times I've had rooms where like the pairs of guys patrol around the outside of a big room, and if there's a door, you can wait until the one of them goes past, open the door on the other one, it'll go splat, and then just run away, and the other guys won't notice, and the door's kind of swing, so the door's now open, so you then have to wait for them to walk around and like walk past and like close the door as they walk past, and then you can rinse and repeat. They don't even notice the blood of the guy that's obviously been killed by a door.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So it's not quite Mark of the Ninja stealth.
No, not at all. Yeah. No,
pretty funny.
It's not as slick as Mark of the Ninja, but I prefer it to Mark of the Ninja, I have to say.
Oh, it sounds like it'll be more fun.
Yeah,
it's more fun. Good as Mark of the Ninja was, stealth games. I'm not sure stealth is fun.
Depends how you do it, but yeah. I despite the fact that Mark of the Ninja did stealth incredibly well, I was surprised by not liking it as much as because I'm a stealth kind of guy sometimes.
Yeah, well, I was the other way. I think I found it more enjoyable than I normally would a stealth game.
Right.
But I'm still not sure that stealth is a particularly fun thing for me. But That's why certain elements of Assassin's Creed are super annoying, and why certain elements. Not that Assassin's Creed particularly does stealth that well in places.
No, it does do it poorly in places, but yeah. Splinter Cell.
Or why I never started Wind Waker.
I think the Chaos Theory, Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, was probably my favourite for stealth. I'm kind of remiss because I should have played the Metal Gear games, and I guess they're probably better, but who knows?
Different kind of stuff, really.
Anyway.
Splinter Cell kind of wrote that book on how to do stealth in a three-dimensional space.
Well, it was kind of came after them.
It did come after Metal Gear, but Metal Gear is still kind of simplistic, mostly 2D focused.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Hide around a corner type thing, as opposed to like you're using the light and using the
the light stuff. Yeah,
Splinter Cell kind of wrote that book.
Light.
Yeah.
So yeah, play it.
Cool, yes.
It'd be awesome to play Hotline Miami in one big go. That would be amazing. If it was like a super hot night and you just played it all the way through, I bet that would be mind-blowing.
I wonder how long the game is. But
I played like 5-6 hours of it, so it must be reasonably long.
Well, yeah,
but that's because
that'd be an epic session.
That's because I hang around outside the doors. But yes. Let's do the news, shall we?
No,
hang on, because we're doing it. I just wanted classic other format.
Well, I just wanted to slot it in the middle here, before we get onto the other stuff we've been playing. Like, just while there's a gap in stuff that I could particularly segue to, I suppose. Though the only real sort of news that I can think of that happened in the last 2 weeks was the most recent, like in the last couple of days, the most recent Xbox news.
Oh yes,
and that you can now. They're apparently allowing self-publishing in some form.
They're gradually getting rid of all the shit that made them different from Sony.
Slowly, like retreating.
So that they've said, hey, indie guys, you're allowed in. But what neither Sony nor Microsoft have really said is how they're going to solve the discoverability problem. Because does this mean? The Escapist news kind of rightly said, does this mean that the stores are just going to be filled with crap kind of like the Android and Apple stores are?
Like the original Xbox one?
Yeah, or the Xbox
crap,
indie store is just like, stupid. There's some good stuff there, but good luck finding it blind. So how are they gonna get around that issue? Or are they simply just not, and they're just going to adopt an Android and iOS model and just say, look, it's the Wild West, you guys. If it's known and you want to go find it, then search for it. We'll have our own featured sets and stuff like that. But if you're...
I think that'd be okay as long as you highlight the right areas. And make it super easy to like search with your voice or whatever.
It's weird because, I don't think it's you can win in this particular argument, really. Because should you elevate... If someone writes an incredibly good indie game that's not really discovered or that people haven't really stumbled upon it, it's like, does that never get elevated for some reason? Or are you just relying on the fact that these things will get picked up, someone will play it, and it will word of mouth its way eventually to the top? Like, I wonder what the time turnaround is for that sort of thing, unless you're already coming in with big publisher backing. You wouldn't be in the scenario, I guess, where if you launched the game, you were going to expect, right, day one sales, this is going to be our best day, and it's like, no, because no one knows about it. That kind of problem.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not sure how you really... I'm not sure if you can really tackle that with self-publishing, unless you have an enormous team at Microsoft basically just playing everything that comes through and say, this is really good. But then I wonder if that's what the QA process is. I don't know.
I guess
there's all this craziness around when you start thinking about self-publishing.
I guess you could try and do something like the Steam Greenlight stuff, but that has had its problems.
That does have its problems. There are certain genres of game that seem to just garner a lot more attention, despite them all being clones of each other.
Yeah,
like the Minecraft block game is like all over Greenlight, and
it's all over Xbox as well.
It's all over Xbox as well.
Because they make money for some reason.
Yeah,
for some reason.
Like,
not that Minecraft obviously deserves to make money, but all these weird clones, it's like,
they're just bad Minecrafts, most of them, and it's which is odd. And some lesser, some other not lesser games, but other games get less noticed when they really deserve to be. Like, it took Pinball Arcade friggin' ages to get greenlighted, and that should be a no-brainer because it's been doing super well on the platforms that you can actually get it on. Little things like that. And there are some stuff that I have voted for in Greenlight that look pretty damn awesome and are mostly complete, but haven't really been picked up. Yeah, that kind of way, naturally that's going to happen to some things, but
Naturellement.
Yeah, I'll give Greenlight its due. Actually, the things that have seemed to have surfaced through it are mostly pretty good.
Yeah,
actually, the ones that do actually make it through the process. There's been some good stuff there.
Yeah, we'll see how that continues, and how Microsoft and Sony manage things.
Yeah, as you say, maybe they just copy that model and do some stuff. So I'm done with news now. That was all.
There's a bit of news on the RAM situation on the new consoles.
No. This argument's still happening.
Have you heard about this?
No.
So what is it? I can't remember. That they both have 8 gigs, right? But
yes.
but Xbox has this.
Xbox's DDR3 has
slower, and it has a kind of
sort of weird cache
thing. The thing about that was that I'm trying to remember the figures, but it's like the amount that's actually available for games.
Oh yeah, it's a lot less on Xbox than it is on PS2 because the Xbox is allocating more to its various OS
operating
layers.
system. So what I've read is that Xbox allocates 3 gigs to the game, which sounds a bit low.
Oh wow, that is quite low.
And PS3, the new news is that it allocates 5.5 with a flexibility up to 4.5 with a flexibility up to 5.5 in future, possibly.
Huh, weird.
Something like that.
So both situations aren't actually as good as weird. Because the PS4 one was pretty. Wasn't it something like that? You get like 7 of the 8. Like it was what they were originally saying.
That's apparently that doesn't seem to be true.
No.
So, but still, that 3 sounds a bit odd, doesn't it? But anyway, but they're definitely saying it's more than quite a bit more than the Xbox gives you. But that still seems like a small proportion of the overall RAM. And why do you need why does the Xbox need freaking 4 or 5 gigs for its
the
OS? What's it doing?
Well, it is, or like the OS is always on,
yeah,
isn't it? And maybe some of that allocation is for game DVR.
Yeah, probably. I mean, they talked about that this week or last week.
Well, yeah, true. I don't really think that was much news because we still don't really know if that's if game DVR is on all the time or if it's like because they so far they've only ever really talked about it in context of Killer Instinct.
Yeah, they've said it's like 5 minutes or something.
Yeah, it's 5 minutes with an instant 30-second save for anything that you save. I think you can use Connect to say, hey, Xbox, record that, and it will save the last 30 seconds immediately without you having to go to... If you want to access the whole last 5 minutes, you need to go to the video editor. And it's also, I'm not sure if they again made this clear whether it's presumably it's only recording the game part of the console, like it's not recording the OS and it's not recording.
Well, who knows?
We don't know that kind of stuff. So it's still a bit, and yeah, because presumably if there's like a delay in you having to go to the game DVR program, which there might not be because it might be one of these things allocated in the stupid amount of RAM they're allocating to the OS.
Yeah.
That when you go to that, is it the last little bit of your recording got you going to the game DVRs, or the upload studio, whatever they called it? Will it have recorded that bit, like slightly ruining the amount of time you had? Still, 5 minutes is okay. It's not as good as the 10-minute PS4 one, but
yeah,
it's something.
Yeah,
I think it's a little bit more, I think, than we were all expecting.
So that's something. Yes.
News. Back to game.
Yes.
Well, there's more. Here's a pointless bit of news that we probably won't have any reason to talk about for any period of time. Activision Blizzard split off from Vivendi.
Oh, I heard that.
For a ludicrously large amount of money.
Yeah, they bought 47% of their shares.
Yeah, so Vivendi's down to 20
back from Vivendi, which cost $5.6 billion or something. That'll be in
US. Yeah.
Was it $8 billion US?
I think so.
Freaking heck.
Jeez.
That's a lot.
But we don't care, so... we don't play any Blizzard games.
What does that really mean, though?
Well, the autonomy debacle was like 11 billion or something. So that's the amount they wrote down autonomy to
Okay.
HP. Anyway, 8 billion.
Means they don't have to worry about whatever Vivendi's policies are.
I guess.
We can make them shit as ones as we want now because.
But I wonder if
we own our own
I do wonder if how much they must have mostly free reign because Blizzard they don't churn stuff out, do they? So
No.
they must have a lot of patience from Vivendi for that kind of stuff. So they must have had fairly free reign on what they do.
There's Activision as well. They do more stuff a bit quicker.
Yeah. Call of Duty.
I was about to say, I don't think Vivendi would have had much control over them.
No.
Because Activision are the ones putting the squeeze on like Call of Duty and stuff like that. Or maybe they're not. Yeah. Maybe none of it is Activision's fault. They're just being told what to do. That would be weird.
Well, we'll find out. Now, apparently.
Well, no, we'll still see Call of Duty every year.
Well, yeah.
That's about that.
But maybe it'll be different. Maybe now we'll get Call of Duty in space. Maybe it's Vivendi that didn't want it to go to space.
Yeah, maybe.
It's such an obvious progression from the insanity that's going. They already had scenes in space for no reason.
Well, they weren't really like proper scenes, were they? I suppose they were like little cutouts to say, "Hey, this nuke is mysteriously wafting this satellite." But...
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping that, probably, and not that it might not be my thing at all. Although it looked really fun, but I'm hoping that Titanfall will make a big dent into Call of Duty. Yeah, I think it
needs,
will.
there needs to be a bit more competition, really. Good competition. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Because Call of Duty owns it way too much. I suppose there's Battlefield. Battlefield is the nearest competitor, I guess.
It's a bit too involved to just jump into this trouble with Battlefield, where you could compared to Call of Duty.
Yeah, definitely. It requires a different level of commitment, but and obviously the games are longer and it's a little less arcadey than Call of Duty's. But it would be interesting to see. Maybe Titanfall doesn't actually, we don't know enough about Titanfall to really say is it going to be that drop in, drop out.
I expect it will be less involved than Battlefield.
Yeah,
it certainly looked like it.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
A bit more straight deathmatchy.
It did look more straight deathmatch, or I guess it was a kind of capture the point type deal that they were playing, but it didn't look like a very big map.
A bit more quakey, shall we say?
Yeah, quakish. Quake.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It would be nice to shake it up a bit. Perhaps we've had this dominance way too long.
Yeah.
What would be great is if an arena shooter just turned up and just owned the market.
It's not going to happen.
I know. What if Quake 5 happened?
See, those arena shooters don't really work on consoles, do they? Like the reaction times and stuff, and the mouse and keyboard thing.
But that's pretty much what Call of Duty is.
Yeah, I know, but it's kind of disguised by like a quite slow movement speed and.
You move pretty quick.
Well, not compared to Quake 3.
No, true. Well, it's definitely not as much as Nexus
or
NextWiz, or however you're supposed to say that, because that's lightning fast. That game.
Yeah. I mean, Unreal was pretty fast as well.
Yeah.
UT and stuff.
But UT3 is pretty playable on Xbox. It's pretty good.
That was a complete failure, though.
Yeah, it was. It was a bit of a flop.
That just kind of tells you the attitudes have
It's a shame.
seriously changed.
It's a shame. I suppose the last thing I would be... I don't know if Monday Night Combat really counts. It's kind of arena shootery, but even that's quite slow movement, I guess.
It's super slow.
Yeah. It's weird. Not even Halo really counts.
No, certainly not.
Well, it doesn't. I don't think arena shooters necessarily have to be fast. They just have to be. There's a certain mentality, I suppose, to how you go into them, and I suppose Halo's probably the closest thing we have. Halo 4,
I guess.
Depending
on the map.
Yeah.
Setup.
And maybe the health style. Is the health style a crucial element to an arena shooter? The non-regenerating or non-quick regenerating style health system.
Don't know. I think you could probably. That'd be an interesting experiment to put regenerating.
Should
regen health into Quake 3 or something.
Yeah.
Because that would change all the maps because you'd have to replace the health packs.
Yeah, or what if you had where you have slightly more? If you did like a Halo game where you have slightly more health, but it's only a slow regen and a slow consistent regen rather than the fast.
I don't
shield
like
regen.
the idea of like hiding in a corner and waiting for your thing to recharge in cover when you're.
Oh,
in
but that was the whole
arena.
point. You had to go find something to boost yourself, wasn't it? That was like, so you do get a benefit for being alive for some amount of time, but you need to go find like a health pack or a
Yeah.
shield booster, something like that.
That's what I mean. And like that, it encourages movement more than the
Yeah, so
regen health.
you could well, yeah, but it would be a slow. That's what I mean. That's why I make it a slow regen. So you're still getting something for being alive, but you could. It's like a risk reward thing in a way. You'll get more of a reward if you go out and try and find a health pack.
Oh, I see. So you would just have like kind of like the medic in TF2 where they get
Yeah, a little bit,
time.
something like that. Yeah, maybe a little bit quicker than the TF2 medic, but something like that. I wonder if that would work or make it a little bit more balanced. Not sure. Interesting. It's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Because it's a sort of dead genre. Does TF2 count as an arena shooter?
No.
No.
Oh, it's got elements of it with the
Yeah.
scout and the soldier's rocket launcher, but that kind of borrowed because it came from arena shooter because it kind of
Yeah,
like a
kind of.
mod for.
It was a Half-Life mod.
It was a Quake mod, wasn't it?
No, I think the first one was a Half-Life mod.
I think it was a Quake mod actually,
Yeah.
and then the Half-Life mod came after that.
Oh, you mean there was
a Quake 1 or Quake
as
1?
well as the Half-Life?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
And 2 has been around since then as well.
2.4 was on Quake, yeah.
Huh.
Which looks hilarious because it's like obviously that brown Quake water in
Yeah,
between, and like the bridge is all
Wow,
the whole
it's just
thing
like
is
one
like
big slab.
totally slab of that. Everything in Quake was brown,
Yeah,
so it was
pretty
all brown.
Brown on brown.
Yeah,
It was 70s game design.
I don't understand why they
In the
chose that.
90s.
It's really weird. There's no technical reason. for
No
everything to be
technical
brown.
reason, but I guess it was like trying to be grimy, I suppose, and a
Yeah.
bit hellish, and like that kind of Diablo-esque look to it is all kind of a bit brown as well.
Oh, brown.
Brown.
Oh, what was that level on that Toke's Towers on Quake 2?
Quake
where
2,
you had to
yeah.
like jump into the pool with like a quadded super shotgun.
Yeah,
That's so dumb.
it was pretty great.
Whee!
That level was dumb, in all honesty,
Yeah.
but it was pretty funny, especially against dumb bots. But just right, get the quadded BFG sorted. Game is
BFG
mine.
in Quake 2 was ridiculous.
That's great.
With the giant handle of
Yeah.
doom and the like
Engine.
exhausts, hot rod
thing.
exhausts, and it fired an incredible slow moving ball of plasma that had like lasers coming out of it.
You didn't want to be near it when the ball exploded.
No. Splash damage of doom.
It was pretty great. Anyway, games
Anyway.
I've been playing.
James Rob's been playing.
Fuck you. I haven't been playing stuff. So I started Infamous.
Cool.
On
I
the
didn't know
PS3.
you'd, pick that up. Awesome.
Oh, I've had it for ages because it came. It was free when Sony did their "We're Sorry" thing
Oh, cool.
after the hack. So I've had it sat on my PS3 for ages. It's a goofy fucking game.
Yeah.
That's how I describe it. It's really goofy. It's like right from the start, something doesn't feel quite right
Okay.
because the movement is just weird. It's like everything runs really quickly. Like you run really fast, and your animation is super exaggerated running. And
Right.
naturally, one of the first things I tried was the rotate the stick thing to see how the animation handles. You just sort of jog on the spot, sort of awkwardly looking over your shoulders
Awesome.
as it tries to do. It looks really weird. But yeah, the sort of the look of the game is kind of a bit janky. It's very reminiscent of the old Crackdown, like
Yeah.
the first Crackdown.
Yeah. Well, it was
Um,
kind of in that
It's in the same sort of time frame. And,
Vein.
Yeah.
because
Oh,
I
Crackdown
remember at
would
the
have been a lot
time
earlier.
thinking that Prototype looked goofier than Infamous, but
They both look pretty goofy.
yeah.
in fairness.
But to be fair, they're both goofy. So
yeah.
not quite
Um,
Saints Row level of goof, but
But it goes to the level of like where if they ever need to cut in on a character, that for a cutscene or something, their animation is kind of like a bit sudden. If you know what I mean, it's not very human-like, and there's no mouth animation really. The mouth just opens puppet style.
ma
Ma ma ma ma. Yeah, it's-
ma.
which looks a bit funny, which is weird because some of the graphics in that game are really nice. The way things explode, quite nice. The way there's a lot of underground sections in the game where it's completely dark apart from your electric hands giving a blue glow to everything near you, and that looks really cool
Cool.
because it's casting shadows and stuff based on like you can see your hands casting or your legs and stuff casting shadows, and it's
Awesome.
It looks really good.
It's a bit of a mixed bag on the
a good visual mixed bag. So it does do some nice things. And in a way, it kind of it in terms of mechanics and the way its combat flows, you can think Saints Row really, because it is like third person open world shooting, I guess, and it plays quite similarly to how Saints Row combat does. So with one neat bonus, in that because there's no weapons, as in you don't pick up guns and you don't do anything, everything is available to you on your controller without you having to switch.
Right.
And
that's cool.
I'm not sure I can stress enough just how much of a difference that actually makes, because at any point you have everything that you can do available to you.
Like a fighting game almost.
Yeah, I don't have to do an awkward switch to get out the rocket launcher, because that's going to be more appropriate for this situation using a weapon wheel, or worse, a number button on the PC.
Mm-hmm.
And I just know, if I tap X at this point, I'm going to send a shockwave forward and fling these guys, and then I can hold up on the D-pad to go to precision mode if I want to snipe them out of the air while they're flying. And it's like just everything's there, and it's really great to have that there. It does mean you have perhaps a limited selection of moves compared to some games, but it just makes that so much more streamlined and so much more accessible. If I fuck up a scenario, it's not because I was struggling with a menu, or it's not because I was befuddled by the controls. which is nice. It feels kind of fresh in a way. Well, fresh enough for, I suppose, for a game that was made in 2009.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of fun. It is kind of fun. In a kind of a dumb way. It's kind of it's not really you don't really think about things in that game. It's and again a bit like Saints Row. You just go places to fuck shit up, shoot some dudes, zap them in the head. Some of the electric stuff has a some drawbacks. As in, electric is quite a wide effect, I suppose.
Right.
It's like, if you zap something, other stuff around it kind of zaps.
So
it can be a little difficult to see sometimes exactly what you've hit and what you haven't hit, because everything kind of just gets electrified, and it doesn't always do damage to things, like being all zappy. Like you have to hit people and all of that. Hitting stuff nearby doesn't hurt them, but the thing they may be leaning against may be electrified and it won't hurt them, that kind of thing. It's sometimes a little difficult to tell exactly what you're doing. And there's quite an emphasis on building climbing, which is kind of slightly janky in itself, because you're basically just pushing into it, tapping X as often as you can, and sort of do this weird hoppy thing up the side of the building. Sometimes it'll not attach to a certain object, or you won't quite get enough height for some reason on one jump, and then you'll do exactly the same jump again and you'll make it, right, that kind of thing. So it's a little bit weird with the building climbing, and some of the platforming. There are some sections where it forces you to platform, and some of those aren't so great.
There's no Assassin's Creed style leaping into space, though, is there?
No, it doesn't do that, but sometimes it's a little bad at the detection of you actually getting hold of something.
Right.
There was one of the underground sections where they like to use the underground sections to introduce new mechanics, often with a platforming section, perhaps in between certain bits. And there's a couple of those where the mechanics don't quite work, especially on the moving platforms where you just don't quite grab onto it and you fall through the floor and just die. And then it puts you quite a way back sometimes when you do that, and it's really irritating having to do that on a lengthy section again. Because of a glitch, which can happen several times over. So yeah, that's probably where it falls down, is some of the platformy stuff. But it's quite cool when you get induction on your feet and you can start grinding along rails, electrified rails and stuff like that, and then jump off the end. Yeah, it calls it induction. But yeah, and then when you're in there, you fire static boosters from your hands so you can glide for a while. At quite high speed after coming off these rails, and it's kind of cool doing that. And if you get practiced at it, perhaps when you're in the air, you can activate precision mode, which slows down time as you do it. It's costing you energy while you do it, but then you can snipe people while you're flying through the air.
Oh,
it's
ridiculous.
It's pretty crazy. That kind of stuff is hard to pull off, but it seems justifiably hard. You know what I mean? You're doing something crazy. There's a lot of stuff to find in the world, like a lot of blast shards, basically, which just give you more electricity that you can hold at any one time. The way it plays, actually, you use electricity as your power is kind of interesting because you can run out of it pretty quick.
Right.
You don't hold a lot of charge. And in order to get it back, you have to find a source of electricity and go "Yah!" next to it for a while. Yeah, you hold your hands in the air and sort of just do sort of action. And and then your bar fills up. And before that thing gets overloaded or just has no juice left, and you can only use things so much. It's kind of interesting because it adds a sort of... You can't just blast everything with your most powerful thing all the time because chances are, like sniping, for instance, uses a lot of your energy. So you can't do that very often, unless there's a power source nearby. In fact, some of the weakest elements of the game are probably when the game goes through a bit of a cycle. So the first thing you generally have to do when you go to a new area is turn on the power. And of course that leaves you in a bit of a problem because for a while there's no power. There's not a lot you can recharge from.
Right.
And the area of those parts of the game tend to be swarming with enemies.
Oh.
Which makes it kind of...
early on?
Yeah, sort of, yeah. It's not so bad right at the start, but then I'm about halfway through, and those bits are becoming the most difficult part of the game.
Right.
Just getting to where I'm supposed to go so I can get underground and turn the power on. That's proving really tricky.
Interesting.
Because there'll be trucks with machine guns down there. Yeah, because as I say, as soon as the power's back on, you're a bit nicer. Even if there are tons of guys, you've got more areas you can run away to and recharge. Because if you're recharging, that also gives you a bit of your health back. Say if you're entering the heartbeat phase, I suppose it does that classic thing where you don't really see your health, but the game will start to go a bit fuzzy if you start dying and that kind of thing. Then you can make it recharge quicker. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think I'm coming away. I had fairly low expectations, if I'm honest. Like, 'cause I wasn't quite sure. Because again, it fell into that Infamous versus Prototype bracket. I'm not sure either came off very well because of it at that period of time. And actually playing it through, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. It's kind of enjoyable, but you just can't really. If you put it next to, say, maybe Infamous 2, which is a much better looking game, or you put it next to something a lot, even a modern PlayStation game, it looks a bit funky, and it doesn't play as well as sort of newer stuff. It doesn't play as well as Saints Row, say, for instance, that kind of stuff. But it's for something that's free and as something perhaps to. Give me an introduction to what Infamous is all about.
Yeah.
It's not been so bad.
Because you could be tempted by the new ones.
Yeah. A lot of people are. A lot of people are pretty excited about Second Son.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's interesting to get in. A friend of mine who has played both the games and is playing through Infamous 2 again at the moment, Eddie, has been saying that Infamous 2 actually isn't as fun as the first one, as in it's a better crafted game in terms of production value and how it hangs together, but it's not actually as interesting to play through, which is weird because normally the first sequel is kind of where they just take what they've already done and refine it to the point where it's where it's a better game, not necessarily reinventing the wheel, but apparently they haven't really done that this time. According to him, anyway.
Yeah. Matter of opinion.
But it has a lot of, I remember it having a pretty big following when it came out, especially because it had that crazy level editor stuff.
Yeah, 2 did.
Yeah, Infamous 2 has, there's none of that in 1, but Infamous 2 had that crazy level editor mode where we could make like little sub-games out of objects and things like that.
That sounded quite fun.
Yeah,
I just wonder how much of that is still around.
Yeah, it's weird. I remember seeing like rudimentary pinball games being made in it and stuff like that back when it was fairly newly released. So it's kind of interesting. But I've accidentally left my PlayStation controller at Eddie, so that's on hiatus for a while.
Okay. Easily done. Yeah,
that was pretty stupid. I started playing Binding of Isaac, as I mentioned earlier, which has that kind of... It's weird game, because I kind of thought, well, maybe I could do it and, pick it up when I have a little bit of time and I can just do a quick run. And it's like, well, the problem is when you're having a good run, it's not a quick run.
No, and you can't save run.
No, there's no mid-game save, there's no... It's taken me like three and a bit hours to just finish my first run properly because it's pretty difficult.
Yep.
And the random can really fuck you up.
Well, especially when you don't know what stuff does.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of stuff where it's just like I'm not quite so sure. There's a lot of. I spent a little bit of time looking on the Wikia to see just how deep the rabbit hole goes. It's pretty deep. There's a lot of crazy secrets and a lot of things that you may or may not see for a very long time, which may explain why Kippers has several hundred hours in this game.
Also, it was his streaming thing.
Well, yeah.
It was a game that was easy to stream, and everyone on Twitch was doing it at the time.
Yeah.
For some reason.
It's weird. I quite like the structure of it, but I'm not so sold on how it actually plays. You know, just the movement of it. And I think the sort of the style of game and the way that the visuals are done kind of clash a little. Because it's very floaty in how everything looks and feels. Like your movement has momentum, your movement has and your tears get affected, which your bullets get affected by which way you're moving as well. So there's a kind of a floaty inaccurateness to everything. And the perspective of the game where it's sort of like done it's sort of top down but sort of isometric at the same time in a sort of weird, graphic mashup, I suppose. And it's sometimes tricky to judge where things are in like a bullet hell scenario where there's stuff coming at you. It's not quite as easy as playing like Cinemura and stuff where you can just dodge out of the way of the bullets because you can see where they are. It's not, and maybe that's intentional. I don't know. Make it a bit more. The floatiness is supposed to be grimy. I don't know. It's pretty fun. Bottom level, it's pretty fun, but it could have done with a little more polish. Like it doesn't support like 1080 resolution. It can only run at 720, and that's pillar boxed. It doesn't support a controller, which was a bit weird for it being basically a dual stick shooter.
Yeah,
it's because it's 4-directional.
Yeah,
it's like you'd probably be too tempted to try and shoot diagonally if you had an analog stick.
It even says in the options screen, it's like, want to use a controller? Tough, you'll have to use like an app to do that.
But it's like
hotkey or something.
It's like what they said on Meat Boy, where it's like, fuck the keyboard, use the controller, and I was like, no, fuck you.
I prefer playing with a controller, but like. Yeah, so it's a little weird, especially as it's the game that came after Meat Boy. It's like it feels like it should have been the
it was
one
obviously
before
a Flash game,
yeah,
which is why it only has keyboard.
Yeah, so it's a little weird, but it's pretty fun. I find it a little hard to recommend though. It's kind of fun, but it's just something about the setting. And
it's like 60p, so you don't even need to.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of a punt, but I find it a little hard to recommend because of the setting, because of the disturbing nature of some of it, because of, I don't know, unless you start reading into it. If you read into it the wrong way, it could be seen as blasphemous, that kind of stuff. Like, really,
the whole thing is very obviously blasphemous. I don't think you need to read into that at all.
Well, no, but it's supposed to be sort of like a sort of commentary on how people get deluded by things and how that
the whole goddamn story is your mum goes crazy because the Bible tells her to kill you, basically.
But that's the thing. It's like, but that's not it, because it's
basically it.
That's how it's told, but it's supposed to be more about how people put that kind of mentality upon religion, and then religion gets a bad name for it. That's like,
I think you're reading too much into it.
I read that on interwebs. That's what it's like supposed to be about. But
I think that's more like that's probably a safe marketing play where they're like, no, actually, this isn't about blasphemy at all. No, really. Can we just have you fight Satan? That's not about the Bible or anything.
But that's why I can't recommend it, because the game doesn't tell that message very well.
No, because it's not meant to. It has a terrible story that also doesn't make any sense, and deliberately so. Where
well, of course
it
doesn't make sense, but
yeah, but it's like the whole, especially in the expansion, where it's like at the end of the game you open a chest, but then you're inside the chest, and then you go inside the chest and you fight yourself, and it's like, what the fuck is even going on?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Awesome.
And it also has that weird thing where your first run isn't the whole game, your second completion is longer, and then your third completion is probably longer still.
Yeah.
There's like extra stuff that you don't get on your first run and things like that. So it's kind of weird, but strangely addictive. So there's that. Let's move on. God, what else did I start playing? Some other stuff. Dyad, I suppose.
Yep, I finished. Well, not really finished. I played through all of the levels once.
I'm about halfway through now.
It's fucking ridiculous.
It's pretty great. It's got to be said. It's a pretty great game. It's like, I didn't find it as difficult to see what's going on as I thought it would.
Well, you wait for the later levels.
Well, okay. I think the internet video, I think, sort of makes it a bit more blurry than it actually is.
Oh, yeah.
When you're actually playing it, but it's...
But
okay.
it's like... The thing that makes that difficult about that game is, in reality, you're only focusing on this tiny little circle right in the middle of the screen where the things that you can furthest away are that you can hit, because that's where you have to hit things, because as soon as they get any closer, you don't have enough reaction time to do anything about them.
Well, given the speed of that game, that's probably a good thing, that you only have to focus on a small area of the screen to actually do it. But anyway, for those that don't know what Dyad is, it's kind of a... visually Res-esque style.
Well, I don't know about that.
It's pretty Res-esque.
It's a bit more insane than Res. It's like there's no wireframes in Dyad. It's all just washy, crazy colour.
No, but it's kind of solid colour. It's kind of like the interface is all very, very blocky, very sort of utilitarian, I guess.
Yeah.
It's there's Res parallels here. There's probably more so than like most other games done in that. It's sort of like a mashup between Res and Frequency. Okay, how about that?
Well, it's more like Tempest and Audio Surf. I don't know. It's like Tempest. So you go around a tube. Oh, that's quite a lot like Frequency as well, I guess.
Yeah, more like Frequency.
It's like Space Giraffe. That's getting towards the right amount of insanity.
No, don't even say that. Anyway, well, the idea is you're supposed to like hook groups of
we are supposed to do
the same colour.
You're supposed to do a thing, and sometimes the thing is different. But generally,
without interruption,
you're supposed to do a thing, and sometimes the thing is different. Okay, I got it.
Well, yeah, you move around the thing trying to hook things of a certain colour, and if you do them in groups, then you go faster through the tube. If you hit things, you tend to go back a bit and lose time. But there's also a lancing mechanic, which is like a smart bomb kind of thing, where it makes you travel super quick as long as you're running into stuff in a line while you're using it. And there's also a crazy grazing mechanic. That means, once you've hooked something, if you just zing it as you go past, you get more energy for that lancing thing. And it's like, and all of that kind of combines into a really sort of neat and exhilarating experience. And it kind of ties all of that beautifully with the audio. As well, which is
sometimes a bit ridiculous. There's one level that I don't think you've probably got to yet, where, because you know how at the end, obviously it has scores and everything.
Yeah.
There's one level where
the leaderboards don't work very well.
No, you can't see your friends,
which
sucks. But there's one level where I think the goal is to go as fast as you can.
A race level.
Well, no, it's just like maximum speed.
Get speed up. Okay, yeah.
But then when it does the score of that, it just, the music continues, except it just modulates the pitch of the music by a graph that shows you what your speed was. So it goes.
I think that's one of the remix options, is you can set the music pitch to be based on your current movement speed.
That does happen in a couple of later levels as well.
That's pretty crazy because you're like like all the time. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, because the way you've got to about halfway through is like where that sort of reaches the peak of different buttons you're going to use, because it's like you have the lance and the hooking and the grazing.
Yeah, and it never uses more than those two buttons.
No,
apparently,
but then when the later levels, they sort of, there's some of them where like hooking becomes almost pointless, where you're much more concentrating only on avoiding things rather than actually trying to hit them. And other stuff like that.
Well, that's one of the interesting things about this game. As I said, no two stages are 100% alike.
No.
Not just because of layout, but because the rules evolve as you play through the game.
Some of the later levels really get ridiculous. There's like that speed one where I can't remember if it was before or was that level where they introduced the enemies where when you hook, it's like one enemy that's orbited by two enemies.
Yeah.
And if you hit the middle one, it creates a path that makes you go faster.
Oh, cool.
So obviously you have to be careful to only hit the middle one.
Yeah.
But then that path that makes you go faster makes you go a fucking lot faster. And if you sometimes they're in a row, so you can just keep hooking more of them while you're going down this path, and it just goes, just going insanely quickly. Can't really see what the fuck's going on. So it's like sometimes those levels almost feel like you're not even playing. It's like, I can't really control this any longer. I'm just hoping that I'm hitting things as I'm boosting along at a million miles an hour.
I did look at some of the trophy levels because as the game was originally designed for PlayStation, it has what it calls trophy levels, and they're the only ways to get achievements in this game. Is you have to meet the trophy goals on a trophy level.
You have to get the 3 stars to even unlock them on the normal level.
Yeah, and some of the ones I've only played the first one.
Yeah,
and that was okay. That was pretty easy, easy to get. It's more of an accuracy challenge, that one. Some of the ones I've seen near the sort of halfway point of the game are already pretty fucking ridiculous. Just the requirements for them, just sound. I'm not even sure how you'd do some of them.
Or maybe you just haven't seen where maybe the later levels where they do get ridiculously fast, so it will actually make those easier.
Perhaps give you a mechanic clue or something to how you could do it. But yeah, they're insane. Really insane. It's kind of an interesting way of managing it. I would have preferred perhaps if they had some balance, so you get some achievements perhaps for normal progress, and then the trophy ones give you some. But then that wouldn't mean that they wouldn't be called trophy levels. But I like the way that they work. As in the trophy level, actually, the goal of the level is to just do what you need to do in order to get that trophy. As in, it sort of works on the mechanics of the main level that it's associated with, but the main goal of that level is to get the trophy. And so as soon as you fuck up and as soon as you can't get that trophy, the game steps in and goes, hang on a minute, you can't do this. It's you failed your run. Wow. Does it do that on all of them? Because I've only played the first one. Well, obviously, when you run out of hooks, it was no, you have run out of hooks. Well, yeah, hopefully if the mechanics of that level are such that... We've said it's a time trial. I'm sure if there's one where it's like that top speed one, only it's a trophy level, then there'll just be a time, you'll have an allotted amount of time where you can keep trying. Yeah, sure. I get there'll be some goals where that doesn't work, but when you can have a failure state, the game just steps in rather than making you play to the end of the level and then telling you about it. And that's really cool because it's like the instant restart thing. It's another way of saving you time or stopping you from wasting it. It's it sort of just kicks in and goes, yeah, no, you're not good enough for this. Screw you. I like that. It's not quite instant restart because you have to go through a 3-2-1 count at the start of the level, but quite unnecessarily so, I think, at times.
Yeah,
but,
they could remove that, maybe.
Maybe for some levels, or just have a ready go kind of thing. That would be alright, a really quick one. But it looks kind of cool with the the colours coming at you when it's doing the countdown. And the end of the game is dumb as well, where it's just the last level is labelled as infinite. And you don't appear to actually be able to die or anything, you can't hit any of the enemies, although you can still get the graze bonus and you can still lance, but it doesn't show your lance energy bars either, so I don't even know when I have lance. But then, it basically goes a lot like Fez, where you just keep going for a while, and then you speed up, and then you keep speeding up, and then you get insanely fast, and then the screen just fills with colours for 5 goddamn minutes, and I was like, is this just going to keep going? Shall I quit? And then eventually it's Dyad, and I'm like, oh, well, I guess that was the end of the game. Apparently it does stop. It's not infinite, that's for sure. So that was misleading. But it seemed to be going on for a very long time, and I was like, seriously, is this just like a screensaver now? Have I broken it? Is there actually a thing that's going to happen at some point in this mash of colour? But it did, so that's okay. Dyad. I really like it.
Sounds ingenious.
Yeah.
Colourful and
it's a very pick up and play game as well.
You probably can't play that for very long.
Yeah, you might screw your head up a bit. But I'm really quite enjoying that. But I haven't really played a lot of it, if I'm honest. But it's nice to dip into it on the odd occasion and dip out. So what else? In my myriad of things. Got a little bit more Saints Row, just for a laugh. Yeah. Because Eddie was talked about, he's been playing it a bit.
Saints Row 4 coming out soon. I think it's gold, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. That's it's really soon, actually. A week, maybe 2.
Yeah. But you start as the President of the United States.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
That's still kind of fun. Although I did make it, I'm just mopping up some of the things, trying to get some of the sort of completion-y sort of achievements. There's a lot of achievements in that game I will never get, but it's just get a few of them. Not that I really care about Steam achievements that much, just something to do in the world. some goal to go for. Although I think I may have screwed it up. There's one mission where if I go to a certain spot in that mission, the game crashes, and it's done it several times now, and it's like, yeah, I may have broken it, so that one may not be possible, which is kind of annoying. So I may uninstall it. Fuck that shit. Fuck you. It's still kind of a fun game though. Again, in a mindless sort of way. It's enjoyable. Enjoyable, stupid fun. And the mayor is still awesome. Anyway, what else? A bit more Magic the Gathering.
Oh yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard. The encounters especially super difficult. Like the second one I did.
Are they those puzzle ones?
It's not the puzzle ones where you have to provide one. These are the ones where you have what the enemy is going to do is a set pattern.
Right, yeah.
And it doesn't...
Like you were saying last time.
Yeah, and the rules of what they can do don't necessarily apply, such as, to what things you can have in your deck. For instance, they can have any number of a certain card, whereas you can have, you're stuck with the 4 limit. And those things are such a crapshoot, if I'm honest. It's like there are... Some of them are hard enough, or too hard, to the point where if you just don't get exactly the right card, set of cards for a certain deck come into your hand, and I reckon some of those encounters are probably pretty impossible for certain decks.
Right.
I'm really not sure how you can get out of some of the situations. Like one of the early ones is to they will play a selection of creature cards, increasing power for several turns, and attack you when they can. Yada yada yada. Like, it looks like a fairly normal thing, but it's a fairly sequential thing. And then they get quite a few of those, and it's kind of difficult for you to. They come in like an almost ideal order for that player, and then they get the card that gives them all +3/+3 in trample, and it's like, survive this bastard,
right?
And it's like, unless you've got something almost exactly to counter that, which I did. I had fog, which basically meant that turn didn't happen in terms of combat damage. And I could chip him away in the lead up to it with flying creatures that I happened to get. It's like, unless that turn of events happened, if that fog card had been 1 turn late, I'd have been dead.
That's how Magic always works.
I know.
That's basically the tactic of my deck. But it was respite.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you're going to kill me with 1,000,000 damage this turn. I'll just have all that as health.
You just had games like 1,000,000 health in the end game because you just waited and had that respite.
But it only lasts 1 turn, so it didn't really matter.
But the worst thing is that the bit that winds me up a little bit about that mode is that, it is hard enough to do that. But it's supposed to be about, or the game tries to say, hey, perhaps you should learn strategies for how you should take out this thing. Fuck that, no, it's all about what fucking cards you draw. It's like, build a strategy, my ass. The entire strategy of these, like, modern Magic decks is, I happen to have got the right card.
Unless you can build, like, a super cut-down deck where you're always guaranteed to get
that
right
would
card.
be the alternative, maybe, is that you use Deck Manager to build something that's, only has the cards that are going to be useful.
Well, that is the strategy, the genuine real-life strategy of those, the unsealed.
Yeah.
What's it where you get the boosters? What's it called? They're putting that into the new one.
Yeah.
But the strategy is, like, because you don't know what the hell you're going to get, you end up discarding the good stuff and that would be awesome if you got it, and replacing it with stuff which is like mana acceleration or search your library or anything that gets
there is definitely
less screwed by random.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, there is a strategy to deck building, but these games have never really been about deck building. No. And the deck manager's not that user-friendly.
But if you have control over the entire deck and you can put whatever cards you want, like a proper deck building, then you can craft a whole strategy. But if you only get this random selection, then you have to pick stuff that lets you mitigate the fact that you have to use freaking 3 types of mana or some shit.
Yeah, and you also can't see what the encounter is going to involve. Like, the game will give you a hint saying, a little text blurb saying, you're going to get overrun in a stampede. And it's like, okay, but you don't actually know what the actual flow of that encounter is until you play it, really. So you have to go in there and fail, and for you to then come out and perhaps build a deck to try and challenge it. It's not a very good...
Yeah.
It's not a very satisfying system. I don't really ever feel like I've won that fight because I'm clever, you know, or that I personally played that well. I just feel like I got lucky.
They don't sound that good, those encounters.
No, I don't think it's a good idea. I'm not enjoying them.
Although I wasn't hugely big on the what were they?
Puzzle sections.
No, the Planeswalker thing. The ones you had to fight.
Oh, the 3-on-1 fight.
Yeah.
Archmage.
Yeah.
Oh no, Arch Enemy. Sorry,
Arch Enemy. I wasn't that keen on it. I mean, it was cool having the ridiculous cards that the Archmage got. The game state thing.
I think that thing must be, but the game never put you as in the Arch Enemy campaign as the Arch Enemy.
No.
And it's like, and I think that would be a more fun way to tackle
that. Might be quite fun.
That whole mode seems like it would be more fun to be the Arch Enemy than it would be to be any of the three.
Possibly.
At least not with you being able to communicate with the other two. Which, of course, in the campaign mode, you can't. They just do whatever the fuck they want. You want to be able to be talking to your teammates and collaborating. And that would be a much more fun on live with three mates than with the computer. By a long shot. Whereas, one-on-one fights, you can play mostly in silence because you're not collaborating with anyone. So, but this game does the two-headed giant game type, which I haven't played yet, to be honest. It'll be interesting to see if that will probably suffer from the same problem, in that because I can't collaborate with, or I can't. It'd be quite cool if you were playing two-headed giant, and perhaps you were playing as both players.
Possibly,
perhaps that solves the problem.
Yeah, I guess that would be quite fun.
Depends how when you're doing two-headed giant for real, can you actually look at each other's cards? Is that allowed?
I can't remember the deal. I don't see why not. Can you do that?
I don't know the actual rules, but I would have thought that would make sense because you want to be able to collaborate.
Yeah, you want to show each other.
It'd be an interesting restriction if you couldn't.
I think in Magic you can show the enemy your hand. You just didn't.
If you want to,
you just wouldn't want to, would you?
Yeah.
And there are loads of cards where they look through your hand.
Yeah. So. It's definitely a special ability, to see what your opponent has and what's coming up. But it's like play with your top library card face up kind of thing. That happens as well. I don't know. Perhaps there is more in this game than the. This is the 2013 version. There is more in this one than the 2012 in terms of content. There's just more. There's more deck variation and there's more cards.
Cool.
In general, cool. Or it feels like there is, but it's. Yeah, its structure just isn't quite there. And these encounters kind of suck. So, it's a bit of a not really better, not really worse, I think, kind of situation for this one.
Jeff was going on about how lame Magic was for some reason.
Yeah,
well, he didn't even go on about it, he just said it once and that was enough because everyone knew.
Yeah. Lol. Anyway.
They don't like CCGs in general, do they? That lot. But
apparently not.
They are a bit of a insidious game, really. It's like, don't get me wrong, there's some coolness to it, but it's just the money side of it.
The money side of Magic is a nightmare. Yeah. I
should probably close that window.
Yep.
Well,
Children explosion
turned up eventually.
With 10 minutes to go, we suddenly appear.
Suddenly, an explosion of babies. So there's one other thing I've played through and finished.
Hurry up.
That actually you might have played as well, Zach, so this may segue quite nicely.
I don't think I did.
Oh, did you not?
No.
Sword and Sorcery?
No.
No, you haven't played it yet? Okay. I played through
Sword and Sorcery.
Played through the whole thing now. It's a game of 4 sessions.
Yeah.
No, can't count fingers. Okay. I was trying to sign language some conversation about it being on the podcast, but it's a bit late now. What are you doing?
Get on with it.
You like throwing up the horns on Spock at the same time.
Yeah, 5, 6, 7. There you go.
Live long and rock out.
Yeah,
is that
exactly.
what it is? It's pretty cool. I don't know how it would really. It uses some iPad-specific mechanics. I'm not sure how it's going to apply to other formats, like how the Steam version plays, for instance. But I found it started really strong. as in the music's really good because it's kind of its deal.
Mhm.
So it's an audio experience in a sort of way, like attached to an adventure game. And the visuals are really quite nice. I felt the iPad controls were a bit clunky in places, especially at the end of the game where it just fucks you over because it's just a nightmare to get it to do what you want it to do, which may be solved on the Steam version. But it's hard to know how to actually describe it. Is the awkward thing. It does play out a bit like an old adventure game, and as I say, it starts really strongly by introducing the world and what you can do in it, and how the audio kind of elements go into it, and how it's all a bit weird, and the sort of aloof style of how the dialogue plays out, where it's kind of like ye olde, but then he's sort of saying the language used is quite modern. And it is like you see a collection of graves by the side of the road, and you wonder what's up with that.
What's the deal with that?
Yeah, that kind of thing. It's very.
What's the deal?
It really doesn't take itself seriously in terms of its dialogue, and it's like, and as it turns out, that's probably for the best because the ending is no ending at all. Really, things just end, it just stops, and it's like, yeah, nothing really happens. It's a bit disappointing. You don't really know why you're doing this thing that you're doing. You just seem to have brought chaos into these people's lives, and you're just sort of not removing it from them. You don't really know why you're doing it or anything like that. But the game sort of goes to lengths in its own credits to say, yeah, this was probably a little experimental. So
right, yeah,
maybe that's to be expected.
Yeah, guys, sorry, guys, we're working on it.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool, but as I say, the start, the ending's not so great. And session 3 is really it sets itself up with a really nice structure at first. But it's like session 1, like a quarter of an hour sort of introduction to the game. Session 2, half hour, a bit more meaty, something to do, bit of combat. You make a bit of progress. Session 3, really, really long, and if you fuck it up, or you get misled. Which can happen. There's like the dog character in the game sort of is supposed to lead you tends to lead you where you need to go. Sort of hovers at the edge of the screen and goes bark, bark, and then you follow it, and then it moves, and then you rinse and repeat until you get where you want to go. I followed it at one point, and it basically screwed me over because then I had to go through a sequence of events that I'd already done in order to get back to where I was before, and it took a really long time to do, and it was kind of boring and a bit really tedious. If you followed the flow fine, it would be okay. But it's just that I had to go through this process a couple more times than I needed to because the game wasn't very good at directing me at what I needed to do. Mm-hmm. It's a bit. That was really irritating actually. But I can't really complain. It was free in the 5 years of the App Store thing. But it's.
I can't remember how much it was on Steam when I bought it in that big pile of crap that I bought.
It was like £1, wasn't it?
Probably. I had to buy. It was the last day of the Steam sale, so I cleared out all the dumb indie shit that was on my list,
Cool.
like that and Super Hexagon.
Talk about Super Hexagon. I'm done.
Yeah, you better be, because I've got tons of stuff that I'm not going to talk about. Then again, most of it doesn't need to talk about. The Super Hexagon, which is just that, it's just like you avoid a thing.
Yeah,
it's really one mechanic game.
It's a really cool thing, but it's
And it only lasts 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Every time, maximum. Well, no, I guess you can keep going forever if you're good, but you only need to get to 60 to complete the level. And then
because it is that hard.
Yeah, it is pretty goddamn hard. And then there was Starseed Pilgrim, which I didn't really play any more of after Rob saw it last week.
I saw that, yeah.
Where you're basically just trying to build a structure in space, and then you have to climb across it to get to a thing. And then
that's quite an experimental game.
Yeah.
Some really strange mechanics in that.
It's just like the different colours of seeds that you place create different block formations. And you have to exploit those.
Yeah, those formations have different effects. Like you can jump on some, you can't jump on some.
Yeah.
And they eat each other. And there's the encroaching blackness, which you have to outrun. But then it's kind of you need in order to...
Because basically you have to build your platform to link up other pockets of blackness that you need to get to specifically
because they have items in them.
Because they have items in them but that you get them when you flip into the blackness when you jump into the blackness. So eventually you have to jump in, So the idea is to just connect up as much as you can before it catches up to you, and then
it's kind of weird because you have to build this. You build this structure, but then when you go into the blackness, the world inverts.
Yeah.
So your structure actually is then the whole, and space is the solid, and then you have to traverse through that in order to get to the items and then get out. It's kind of it's really interesting. I'm not sure it's something I want to play.
it doesn't explain itself at all, naturally.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's something I want to play, but it's really fascinating.
Yeah. I'll probably try and finish some more of it. I managed to finish one of the levels, and I know there's at least 4, but I haven't actually explored that main, area, hub world, I guess it is.
Mm.
And then maybe there's one other thing in that big bundle, because there was a couple more things that I bought that then didn't get round to actually playing yet, but the main thing that I probably wasted way too much time on this week that I got in that bundle, mainly just to bump the amount of money over the limit to get another car.
Right.
I threw in that goddamn Gyromancer game that has been on my list forever, just because it's a dumb. It's like really old. It's like really old at this point. It's PopCap and Square Enix coming together to make a ridiculous Final Fantasy-esque style match-free game.
I do remember this. So it's like, was this before Puzzle Quest, or was this kind of like them trying to cash in on
Puzzle Quest? Puzzle Quest was like old DS, wasn't it?
It was pretty. Yeah, I knew it was pretty.
I don't
old,
think Gyromancer is quite that old.
But Bejeweled
it's pretty old. But then, so basically, it's just match free, except for the mechanic is it's a battle between different creatures, and instead of just matching free, the way it works is you rotate for a square of 4 gems, and you can only rotate it right. So that's how they make it difficult. And then basically it's like you have the 2 creatures like your one and the enemy, and then each of the creatures has a colour affinity. And if you break gems that are the enemy's colour, then their power bar doesn't fill up. And if you break gems that are your colour, then your power bar fills up more.
Power B, I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah. And then if you break the other gems, you both fill up, but generally the enemies fill up slightly more than you.
Oh, okay, I get it.
And then when the bars fill up, it creates attack gems on the board, and then when you break them, it fires the attack. So it's basically you're trying to suppress the enemy's moves, but then get your own ones.
So the attack gems of your colour, so they can't use them against
they're
you.
randomly.
Oh shit! So
it doesn't matter. They don't attack when they make an attack gem. Their attack gems just count down, and then when it reaches 0, it attacks you. But your gems.
Oh, so it doesn't appear on the board.
No, they do.
Oh, but not theirs.
No, they both do.
But no. What I was asking originally is, are they color specific?
No.
So then, if the enemy matched your,
the enemy doesn't move. The enemy don't play the game.
Oh, right. Sorry, that I didn't. I was thinking on the Puzzle Quest model somewhat. No. So it's
like their moves just count down and then auto fire. But if you break their gems, you can cancel their attacks, so that becomes a tactic as well. So you can prevent their moves by breaking their gems, and then you want to combo your gems to fire your moves. And then obviously there's and because of the way that you have this twist thing where you rotate the 4 gems, and obviously that makes it kind of limiting in how many different ways you can even make matches. So you can actually run out of moves really easily, but then it doesn't matter. It's you can spin wherever without making a match.
Oh, so you can just spin and build up combos without.
Well, no, because you can do that whenever you want, but it if you do that and if you spin and it doesn't make a match, the enemy's power bars just build up faster.
Oh, okay.
And any attack gems they have on the board count down 2 instead of 1.
Oh, I see. So it's still a bad thing.
Yeah.
You can risk it.
But then, so that's if you desperately want to avoid an enemy attack, sometimes you can sacrifice a turn to set it up. If it's I can't quite get that this turn, but I can just waste 1 turn to get rid of that attack gem. So yeah, it's that kind of game. You do that, and it's weirdly Final Fantasy. And one of the enemy types is called Kate Sith. Which is appropriate.
That's cool.
Considering we've played some more Final Fantasy VII and made a video of it.
Which I'm having encoding problems with.
As always.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that. I've played quite probably too much of that. Considering it's a really dumb, simple game. And is really quite crashy. And, has a weird menu. And the controls are I don't know if it was designed for a controller, but it doesn't even seem like it was. or designed for keyboard control, but it has a really annoying habit of constantly repositioning your mouse cursor, which is the worst thing in the world for usability.
That is quite weird.
It's like every time you enter a fight, it automatically positions your mouse cursor on the bottom corner of the grid. And then when you go into a menu, it's like, if you go into like the encyclopedia or whatever, you click on the encyclopedia item and it automatically repositions your mouse onto the exit button, so I guess that sort of saves you having to move your mouse, but it's really really confusing.
It's a bit like that because there's a Windows accessibility option to do that, isn't it? To move your mouse to the default button in a form.
Yeah.
And it's which is always kind of weird.
And it does crash quite a bit, but it at least has autosave after every fight. So every time you go back to the map, it just automatically saves.
That's quite useful.
So yeah, there's that. And then a load of other stuff that I didn't play yet, but maybe I'll get to.
Do you reckon that's a hangover from using a controller?
Well, that's what I was trying to work out, because I tried it with a keyboard, and that's just really annoying to control, because having to scroll around a grid.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The mouse would definitely be better, but I wonder if it's a hang-up they forgot to remove.
Yeah, I just don't know what control they wanted, because it seems like they both have problems.
Yeah. Anyway, we better wrap this up.
Yeah, seems like we're out of time for this week.
So much game!
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Steam Sale.
Yeah.
And another one soon. Christmas.
I'm going to start Bioshock Infinite.
Did you buy that?
I have it.
Oh, awesome.
I felt I needed to for Game of the Year stuff.
Yes, I think you do. So you have to let me know what you think. Cool.
Well, in that case, one of you two needs to buy a 3DS. Hurry up.
Is that the rule? Okay, well, we'll see how we go. Okay, thanks for joining us on the Saladcast. Catch you next time for probably more XCOM, more
random indie shit.
More random indie shit.
Definitely.
And Bioshock Infinite. And you can listen to us then.
Or now. You can just start this again.
Bye, guys.